Hello, everyone. What is going on? My name is Tim Petey, and welcome to episode 99 of the TNT podcast.
Oh, jeez.
We're almost there,
We're almost there.
baby.
Almost there.
Not even close, baby.
At least a month away from episode 100 at this point.
Probably. But as always, we have the full crew here. On my right,
Friedman, also known as Andrew, but mostly known as Friedman.
and on my left,
Just Tyler.
and returning for his 10th consecutive guest appearance.
The amazing AIDS, or from now on, Mr. Golden Guns in Call of Duty.
Mr.
Mr. Golden
Jesus
Guns.
fucking loser.
Just call him Scaramanga over here. If anyone, oh man, none of you probably get that, do you?
I don't know what
no,
the
not
fuck
at all.
you're talking about.
That's the name of the character who's the man with the golden gun in the James Bond movie, Scaramanga. Played
Listeners,
by
if you got that
Christopher
reference,
Lee.
be sure to leave a comment, like, and subscribe. Hit that bell. Do
dear
all that
Lord.
other nonsensical YouTube bullshit.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm a little upset that I didn't know that.
Yeah, if you want to make a man with the golden gun joke, you should at least know the man with the golden gun.
Right?
That or be playing Call of Duty with an N64 controller. Duh.
What?
Darn Skippy.
Forget it.
Real men use the Z button to shoot.
Wow.
Alluding to Golden and N64 for anyone who didn't get it. Anyway.
We don't have a ton of news this week. A lot of this we should blow through pretty quick. Even this topic should blow through pretty quick.
Everything is super fast, and unlike normal weeks where MTG news is not relatable, you guys will actually be able to comment on this because it's interesting.
It's not directly card quality. But we do have a topic coming at the end. But first, we'll I guess hop in with, as Freeman said, there is a little Magic news on the horizon.
Yep, as always. Yep. Time goes
So-
This is not as always.
This is not as always. We haven't had it for like 2 weeks. Anyway, don't fall asleep because this is actually important. I want you to listen to what I'm going to say because we're going to have a short discussion about. So, there's this guy. I think his name's Frank Karsten. He always puts out articles after like the big Pro Tour tournament, breaking down like how the metagame looked. And this year, Wizard says don't do that.
No, not this year. Just now. Like
Just now.
the other day, because we had a Pro Tour this past
Well,
weekend.
it was the first Pro Tour of 2020, so that's why I said that. But yeah.
No, because he even did it last weekend. Because remember the weekend.
Oh, I missed that one. The last one I saw was from December. Anyway,
keep going.
point is, he puts down these giant metagame breakdowns, and Wizards is now at the point where we've already seen them go through a bunch of efforts to like limit how much people know about what everyone else is playing, so they can't solve the format as fast as possible. And this is a very direct, like, please keep the information low. We want everyone coming to these tournaments with like random ass decks, just guessing shit. Like, we don't want everyone figuring out what the best deck is and showing up with it. And it's a very heavy-handed approach to keeping the metagame diverse.
Sorry, you never actually said what's changing. You said he publishes these articles.
Oh no, I said. Oh, did I not say Wizards is not letting him push out the articles because they don't want this information out there.
Yeah, they straight up said like, yeah, you can't do your breakdowns of the metagame because you can cover like the top 8s and everything, but you can't actually do like the full breakdown.
It's pretty shitty. I think someone compared it to like if the NFL posted the scores over the weekend, but they weren't allowed to talk about which players were on which teams.
I mean, I see why they're doing that.
I don't
but
agree
I
with
feel
that
like it's
comparison.
Super scummy. No,
it is scummy, but I think that's a really disingenuous comparison because football
Like,
isn't
no,
a
no,
game
no.
I can go down and try to compete at. Like,
yeah.
like I can't bring a football team in my pocket to go try to compete.
So you yourself can't go play football, but you can play fantasy football, and sports betting is a thing. So like, I wouldn't go so far to say it's not
Sure, but that's
comparable.
not.
But here's the real deal. It's for the people who actually do go out there and try and like grind tournaments for Magic. The only
means
people who
nothing.
now know what the field really looks like are the people who are playing, who are already qualified for these large tournaments. So it gives these professionals an edge where they already understand what the deck list and the professional scene look like, and no one else is able to find that out.
They test against each other, play each other. This is their living, where they spend their life playing Magic and writing about Magic. So they have they will be the only ones who have a really good view now of the top level.
Yeah. And I'm sure that like it'll be even more so like kind of like how like from my perspective, right? And even like professional play, it's like you keep playing the same people over and over again. So
Yeah.
it's like you just know like this is just how it is and how it's gonna be. But would you guys think that this is a lot more difficult then? Like that being said, that newer players can't initiate themselves into the professional scene
So
or the ultra competitive
I
scene?
had a friend who did used to try to grind out Pro Tour invites using Magic the Gathering Online, and basically he lived off of, I think it was NTG Goldfish put like the daily analysis of what like the win rates were, and that was how he figured out like what on a given weekend, like this is what the metagame's trending towards. I'm going to play this deck, and that's what he lived off of. And the second that MTG Goldfish was asked to stop publishing that data, he wasn't able to metagame, and he guessed too many weekends wrong and didn't get invited to the Pro Tour like he planned. So
Wow.
that's I have like an actual example of this impacting someone who tried.
Damn.
Wizards has clearly shown over the last year that they only really seem to care about the people at the absolute top, or you don't matter. Like
Pretty much.
there's been this huge cutback in like coverage of these tournaments, and there's so little clarity. The last year, we've talked about it a couple times, like where Wizards has just constantly redefined what the pro level is, and like how you get to different levels, and how like what kind of earning you can like living you can earn, and all this stuff has just changed so much. Like
Now, why do you
clearly
think
Wizards
that
doesn't
is?
even matter. Because Wizards is trying to build an esport, and every time something doesn't work right away, they immediately abandon it and just radically change. This whole MPL Mythic Pro League, where it's like the top of the top, like it's so unclear. Like they don't go to every tournament, but they're still the only people who are paid by Wizards to play Magic every week. But then there's this Rivals League, and then it's like, how do you get there? Do you like grind Arena? Do you grind paper tournaments? Can you do both? Do you do Magic Online? Like, Freeman, you probably watched the guy from TCG Player who did a video on this, who does the Pretty Decent series.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did a video a while ago trying to break down how you become basically a top of the top Magic player at this point. And it's the most convoluted batshit thing ever. And it's years of spending your own money to go to tournaments all over the place to grind points, and sometimes you're not even sure if those points matter. It's so unclear. There's no bar. Like there used to be levels of pros, like silver and gold and stuff, and they just got rid of like all of that.
Yeah.
And it's just you are in the MPL or you're in the Rivals League, which is like their new secondary tier, or you just don't really have a standing. You just have vague points that no one knows how to directly translate them into anything. Like they're called Planeswalker points, I think, but I might be thinking of the wrong thing.
I'm not sure if they've retired that or if that's still a thing.
I don't even know. But it's just it's so poorly described, and it only seems like Wizards doesn't know what they're doing. That's the only thing that comes across, is that Wizards just is struggling to figure this out as much as everyone else, but they just keep throwing out half measures to be like, oh, we think we got it. No. I think we got it. No.
The lack of it sounds like the lack of like true testing.
Oh yeah.
Pretty much.
Which is odd, right? Because they have so many players at their disposal. And like people who genuinely love the game. It sounds like they're not listening.
I honestly think a lot of it is Arena, where they probably wanted to change things.
Arena so hard.
Well, they're pushing Arena, but it's also like Wizards there's always been a pro scene that was seen as important, but it was always played in paper because Magic Online is buggy and not good. So it was always, people didn't really watch it on the weekends like when they would live stream. It's just never been super popular to watch paper Magic professionally, except for diehard people.
It's also like physically difficult to watch paper tournaments because there's not like a good like camera
there's no
rigging system.
It's hard to like see what the cards do, and if you don't know the cards intimately, it's like what the fuck's happening.
So much shit, and like I've seen these Magic tournaments before, and like because I would say like they're not like Yu-Gi-Oh, and I'm not saying like to compare it. Obviously, like it's better than Yu-Gi-Oh or Yu-Gi-Oh's better than that, but it's like when you have like, okay, here's your zone for things. Okay, how many things can I put in here? Oh, as many as you want.
It can get a lot more cluttered than Yu-Gi-Oh does with 5 and 5. But clearly Arena coming out made Wizards go, okay, we're going to push Arena as an e-sport. Well, we can't really do that without also making Magic an e-sport. So how do we do that? And also Magic has all these other formats and everything, and like pros do play Arena for standard, but like here's an example of another just amazing thing that Wizards. It's baffling. So currently, if you go, Tyler, you know what drafting is on Arena or just in Magic. We've done it
I'll
before.
say,
Yeah, we've
dude,
done it in
we've done
person.
it like 3 or 4 times
Yeah.
now.
Well, in Arena, you draft against bots. You do not draft against humans.
Oh.
Obviously,
so I'm gonna defend Wizards on this one. They've come out already and said that they have a system for drafting against people in the works. It's not ready for tournaments this year, so they're gonna draft. They're
I
gonna draft in
understand.
paper, and then everyone's gonna use those decks online.
Yeah,
but they did say that by end of the year they are gonna have person-to-person drafts on Arena.
But you already cut to the chase basically. But the reason I was bringing it up is because Worlds, which somehow seems to happen all the time and never matter at all. But the World Championship for this past year of Magic is happening soon. And for Wizards had to come out and be like, okay, what they're going to do is they're going to draft in paper, and then we're going to put those decks in Arena, and then they're going to play in Arena. And it's like...
Excuse me?
Who thought that was a good idea?
I mean, I did. I'd rather them switch over to Arena just because I can actually follow along on the stream.
I'm saying...
Well, I'm confused. Why draft in paper?
Because
they don't
otherwise
have a person-to-person like drafting solution in the game yet.
Because Arena isn't ready to do person-person drafting.
I feel like this is something that they should have gotten off of the ground forever.
You think?
Well, no, hold on. So it's not a technical issue. It's a timing problem. So here's the thing. So Magic the Gathering Online had person-to-person drafts. But the problem with doing that is everyone has to draft at exactly the same time. So drafts fired at like 8 p.m. and there was one like 2 hours later. So if you weren't playing at that exact time, you weren't drafting tonight. With Arena's approach, you can draft anytime you want. So you draft against bots, which is on demand. And then whenever you're ready, you queue up with that deck and you play against other people who also draft against bots. So it was the idea of having this always online draft system. And that was why they went with that approach.
Freeman, I don't say Wizards shouldn't have the bot drafting.
I'm just explaining why they didn't have it till now.
But I will say Magic Online, which has fallen in popularity a lot and was never exactly the most popular game on the internet, they never seem to struggle to fire drafts of anything. Like, I've never seen a streamer get in a draft for, like Vintage Cube or something like that and be like, oh, man, I've been sitting in this queue for a half hour waiting for someone to play Vintage. Like, I don't think there would have ever been a problem. But I can understand why Wizards would have the bot drafting. I'm just saying, like, it's a really bad look to be like, okay, our digital card game has to be played in paper first to prep to do the digital card game.
I mean, they'll have this fixed for next year. Supposedly.
Sure, but it just, like, it looks bad. Arena's already been on the market for over a year.
Yeah.
And considering
out of beta for like 7 months.
Okay, that doesn't matter, and everyone knows that. Considering how little, remember at the end of 2019 when everyone on the subreddit was like, hey, Wizards had a lot of promises for things, and we are about to talk about more of them in a second. This actually leads perfectly into the next half of this topic. Wizards said a lot of shit was going to happen to Arena pretty quickly when they first put out Arena. And not a lot has happened in terms of features that came to Arena. Speaking
they had to update the timeline. Pretty much everything that was promised by end of 2020 got pushed out to middle of 2021 due to development.
I know.
So one of the big things was they had an AMA with a couple of developers. And funny enough, the AMA was conflicting with news that dropped today. So the CEO of Hasbro announced today that Magic Arena would be on mobile by the end of 2020. Something that none of the developers were committed to answering about mobile. No one wanted to talk about it for the last 2 years. They were happy to confirm a Mac version was in development, but not a mobile version.
Had been delayed.
And now we got confirmation or the CEO's announcing that, it's coming out on mobile, something that none of the developers have wanted to talk about. But they were willing to say that thanks to anyone else in the development world knew about this, but the last Mac update, they forced every application to run in 64-bit mode. And Arena was running in 32 to support shittier Windows systems, and they had no plan to roll out a 64-bit version until they found out that it has to be 64-bit for Mac. So the Mac client, which was estimated to come out in the next 6 months or so, has been delayed indefinitely.
Amazing.
Until they decide to refactor the entire thing to be 64-bit.
I would like to point out that, this goes back to the drafting thing, where Arena on mobile was one of the big ideas behind Arena originally. was like, hey, we're building it. I definitely remember hearing people say, we're building this in Unity so we can put it on mobile pretty easily. Like, I remember those articles coming out when Arena was first launching.
So the real issue boils down to, and anyone can go look at these because these are all public, but Wizards is one of the worst developers to work for. They only pay about 3/4 of the average for like a West Coast game developer, and they have really bad crunches all the time. So
Look,
no one actually wants to work there. So they have a staffing issue, which is causing slowdown, and now they're having feature bloat because this is the cash cow of Hasbro right now, and the CEO is going out making announcements the dev team doesn't want to commit to. So
no, I totally understand. I've heard the same things for years. Like, it's all the time, especially when Arena was coming out, of like, or like people would talk about Magic Online for years about how it's so shitty and slow to update certain things, and it's like, yeah, because people would be like, yeah, Wizards doesn't pay anybody anything.
Well, that's also an ancient piece of software that's impossible to maintain.
Sure, but I'm just using the example of like, it's never been good. I understand that, but Wizards promised a lot early, and it's been really slow going, and it looks worse and worse for them. But clearly they don't care because Hasbro itself is not doing so hot. But yeah, so Magic is starting off 2020 as it ended 2019, looking rather ridiculous on every level outside of the actual cards. Speaking of looking ridiculous, that big Hollywood thing happened 2 days ago. The Oscars.
Yeah, the Oscars. But that Korean flick won though.
That's true. That's not embarrassing. Everyone was like, "Yo, Parasite's never gonna win at the Oscars because the Oscars suck." And then
for real though, like, when's the last time like? When you know what? That's a good question.
It was on Reddit.
So there was a French film that won, but it was entirely in English. This is the first foreign language film to win.
Amazing, but it wasn't English. Well, no, because you said it was in English, right?
No, the French film, the
French film was in English.
Yeah,
Parasite is the first non-English movie to win an Oscar.
Yeah,
for Best Picture.
Best Picture. Yeah, I was gonna say it's not.
I clarified. I saw the mistaking coming.
Yeah. So if everybody remembers my last one, like, this isn't for you guys. You guys have heard my take on Parasite, but I thought it was all right. I can understand why it was nominated, and I would recommend it to other people because of like what it does. Like, it's got great cinematography in it. And the characters are pretty interesting.
Can I guess that you're maybe a little sad that 1917 didn't win, just because I know you were really...
Yeah. If I did have a pick, I would say 1917. If I were to pick any movie last year, 1917 would be my pick.
Okay.
100%. Like, they just did everything right with that movie. Like, it was just fantastic. Like, it felt like a war movie that wasn't trying to go for the traditional tropes either.
All right, I think it was The Artist in 2011.
The what?
The French
Artist
movie?
Was the French film.
Oh,
gotcha.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. No, I haven't heard that one. Damn. But yeah, it's a pretty big deal though. What also I think what we're not pointing out either is, or what I haven't seen much of, is like how Netflix movies are starting to really get into the Oscars, and I find that interesting.
Mm-hmm.
We're finally getting over that hump of everyone not wanting to accept Netflix movies as real movies, but now we're getting to that point where more big names are tying themselves to it, and we're seeing a lot more creative films come from it that it can't really be ignored anymore.
Yeah, and I think that's cool. I don't know any numbers, but I don't think these movies are detracting from people going to the movies, like, and seeing things in theaters. Like, it definitely hasn't discouraged me from going out to the movies. Well, unless there's a movie that comes out, and I'm sure we all feel the same way, where it's like, this one doesn't feel that great. I'm probably not gonna watch it until it comes out on streaming.
Yeah, I'm honestly at the point where a movie has to incite passion for me to want to go to a theater for it, even though it really shouldn't. Because I'll be the first to admit, like, movie theaters make a lot of movies better.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Like the viewing experience is unbeatable. But that said, I'm a lazy sack of shit, and it takes a lot to motivate me to go watch a movie somewhere that isn't my couch.
Yo, feels.
I mean,
Yeah,
also it is a lot of money.
Anything
Yeah,
that
it
falls
adds
into
up.
that category is just like the wait for DVD like 20 years ago, or fucking VHS. Like it's the
Yeah.
same thing. It's just been relegated to the streaming services.
Sure, but I think
Exactly.
price has. I think the two biggest factors are like price and the fact that things do come to those services faster. Like I remember growing up when we first got our DVD player, and it's like, man, wait like 6 months for a movie to be out on DVD and available at a store. Now it's like, oh,
It
the
is
movie
shorter.
leaves theater, and either you can
It's like 3 months
sale right
between.
away, or like within 2 months you're already able to watch the movie somewhere.
Yeah, YouTube usually has like 2 months out. It's really like it's a great time to be a movie fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless you're going to the movies and you pay like between you and like the other person, you're spending like $40.
Yeah, fiscally, it's not a great time to be a movie fan.
Yeah. But I don't know. It's cool. The other nominees were interesting. Like there was Joker. Apparently, a lot of people were salty that Joker didn't win it.
That's mostly the internet.
Yeah,
I mean,
Once Upon a
that's fine.
Time.
All right. To be fair, a lot of these movies are very good movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, this year had some bangers. Irishman I thought was fantastic. Marriage Story I thought was a sleeper. I was like, I went into it, I'm like, it's probably gonna be lame, but like it was just like a movie full of like just raw performance, and I was like, okay, I can see why this got nominated. Though I didn't see Jojo Rabbit, I've wanted to see Jojo Rabbit.
Yeah, I want to see that one too.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood I thought was really cool. The only one I didn't see on this list, two of them were Ford versus Ferrari and Little Woman. But I didn't have really any interest in seeing either of those.
I don't think I saw a single movie up for nomination.
Oh, I thought you saw at least Once Upon a Time.
No, I meant to with my dad when I was home for the holiday, and I didn't get around to it.
Ah, dang. That's a good one.
There's just a lot of good movies this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Joaquin Phoenix did get Best Actor, though.
Nice.
Yeah. I don't think... The one I do disagree with is Laura Dern in Marriage Story. She's Best Supporting Actress. I don't agree with it. But, like, what do I know?
Yeah, you're not a Hollywood elite. Who the fuck cares what you think?
True.
You don't matter.
True. But I matter here on this podcast.
That's true.
It's got my
on the
name
TNT
You
podcast,
matter.
we are the Hollywood elite.
The damn Skippy. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting, and I am also interested in seeing what 2020 brings us. Nothing good so far. I mean, the only thing I've seen so far this year was that like really caught my attention was Bad Boys 3.
Oh yeah.
But that's not a
That's not an award-winning
objectively,
film.
it's not a good movie. Like people it's got decent reviews, but I'll tell you guys right here, it wasn't what you would call a good movie. Like for a movie snob, I would not recommend it. Now for someone like me, oh yeah, of course. I'll definitely watch it again. But yeah, no. There's no good segue for the next one.
So let's talk about Nintendo, and I'm not going to be angry this week like I usually am. This is just...
Are you sure about that?
No.
Actually, I will say
usually a very sensitive topic for you.
I will say I was just on Reddit a minute ago, and someone posted on Nintendo, and they said this is the great Nintendo Direct drought because this is the longest we've ever gone without a Direct.
Dude, people just want their Animal Crossing information.
Including those microtransactions.
Oh my god, I forgot to put that on here.
Now you can get mad again.
All right, hold on. So
wait.
I'll talk about this crap first, and then we'll talk about the microtransactions. So it seems like for at least 2 years now, every other day someone posts an article saying like the Switch Pro is on the horizon. What's it gonna have? And everyone's always just like,
I was waiting for it.
Yeah, even you said in person, I'm holding up buying a Switch because they might do a Switch Pro. And like, for anyone who's had a 3DS and fell for the new 3DS nonsense, it's not happening. But point is, Nintendo CEO confirms that there are no hardware revisions for Switch planned for 2020. So go out, buy your Switches, go enjoy. Maybe enjoy is not the right word. Go experience Pokemon Sword and Shield if you want to. Go ahead and do it. You won't get FOMO for the Pro version. Even if you do, Nintendo's released like one game for the Pro version, and that's it. But for the real news that I forgot, I forget if it was the rating board leaked it or somewhere this came out that Animal Crossing for Switch contains microtransactions. And a lot of people think this has to do with the success of Animal Crossing Pocket Camp, which was straight up Nintendo's cash grab season where they came out with 3 games with 3 different monetization models. They came out with Mario Run, which was just like a pay $10, you own the game. They had the Animal Crossing one, which was very light microtransactions. They were only for cosmetics. And then they had Fire Emblem Heroes, which was the pay to win game. And of course, the pay to win game is the one that made them all the money in the universe. But it seems like they had a positive experience with Pocket Camp, and they're like, yeah, so we can totally charge for cosmetics, even though cosmetics are the entire end game of Animal Crossing. So unless Nintendo figures out how to do it right, and based on how they're doing with Pokemon, they have no fucking clue. This is going to be a shit show. But unfortunately, we've all already bought the game, so there's nothing we can do to tell Nintendo no.
I will say, when I was home this weekend, Luigi did say he was buying a Switch to get Animal Crossing.
Dude, Animal Crossing is a very real game. Like, it's not something that demands your attention like World of Warcraft, but it's the game that you want to play for like 5 minutes a day. It's a fun, stress-free, you can't lose kind of video game, and that's like the big appeal. Like, I have a friend who he plays competitive Smash, and the only other game he plays is Animal Crossing because it's relaxing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm genuinely curious how everyone's going to react to these microtransactions.
That's the reason why I don't play Animal Crossing. Even though it's a game I should play, I recognize that.
You recognize that it might be good for you to play this game. But
it would be very good for me to play a game like that. However,
Doom Eternal's coming out like the same day.
Doom Eternal is coming out, and my brain needs high stimulation.
It's okay. Eternal will only take a week to beat twice, and then you'll be clear to play Animal Crossing.
I'm probably not going to play Animal Crossing, honestly.
That's fine. I'm not either.
I'm going to make you play it.
You're
going to come over and I'm going to make you watch as I fish and catch bugs and pay off my student loans.
Oh, God. See, that stresses me out enough. It's like, because I think that's what got me. I remember when I was young, and I got it for the DS, or my friend got it, and he loaned it to me, and I was just like, what the fuck is this? I start this game up. I got this raccoon yelling at me saying I owe him fucking money for this house that I didn't even want. I'm like, well, how am I going to get this money? So I'm just running around like, what the hell is this?
Wait, are you sure you weren't playing Millennial Crossing?
I was going to say, little did I know, I was experiencing my future.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. But yeah, no, honestly, though, it's like it is a relaxing game. It's kind of like a just do whatever you want kind of thing. But like for some reason, I think I just need like, maybe I got a weird ADD thing going on with video games where it's like, I need some crazy shit happening now in order for my like brain to be stimulated. Like I just can't relax.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I think I'm just a freak.
It might be worth giving it a second chance just to see if your opinions on games have changed and you can appreciate the calmness and lack of
maybe. I mean, I have New Leaf. I could try New Leaf before.
I mean, New Leaf was good. I just got bored of it after playing it for too much. But then again, that's like every Animal Crossing.
So now that I know that has microtransactions, it's in the fucking trash. I'm not buying it.
Damn.
Oof.
So
I'm not
so here's the thing. I was smart and I didn't pre-order it, so I can wait and see, because this isn't the kind of game where I have to play it day one. This is one of those games where like maybe a week out, it's like, let me go hit up GameStop, see if they have any copies. So I want to see what the full extent is before I make a choice. It's probably not going to impact me because at the end of the day, Animal Crossing is still going to have like a certain amount of you can decorate your house from just in-game shit. And the question boils down to how much are they going to throw into microtransactions and how much of it is just they have put out the base game and going forward, anything new they create will be paid content. Because if they go down that route, that's fine as long as I can look at the game that comes out on launch day and say, yes, this is a complete package. I'm fine paying $60 for this. Unlike what Game Freak puts out.
Yeah. So my whole thought. So all right, this is in the jury's still out because we haven't seen enough about Animal Crossing. But I right now have Animal Crossing in the same category as Pokemon, in that it's just another Nintendo property that is failing to change with the times, and they're falling behind because of it. They're unwilling to change anything about the property to move it forward into the next fucking century. Like it's just there are so many other better games than Animal Crossing that I can play. Like, I'll just go play fucking Stardew Valley.
I was literally just gonna say.
So,
like, it's a more complete Animal Crossing. There's more things to do, and it's a more interesting experience. Like, Animal Crossing, from what we've seen so far of the new Animal Crossing, the only new shit that I've seen is that you get to cross the river wherever you want with your little pole thing instead of having to walk to the fucking
bridge. The bridge, yeah. So this may be indicative of a larger issue with Nintendo fans. So I'm going to agree with everything you said so far. But a lot of my Animal Crossing friends, all they say is, I just want New Leaf, but on Switch. So, and we're starting to see this trend. Like, I noticed it with Pokemon, where a lot of the Game Freak apologists, they're like, I just want to play Pokemon on Switch. And a lot of people they want the same game with nicer graphics is all it is. And they don't want more. They don't want anyone to go above and beyond and make the next big thing. They just want the same thing they enjoyed last time, but they want it to look pretty. And I think this is becoming a problem with Nintendo fans.
I could see that. I can see that.
Because until they start getting mad and not buying games, Nintendo's not going to change their tune.
Pokemon Sword and Shield, best-selling games on the Switch.
Know what, though? That's why I'm glad, even though I'm surprised as hell, even though we've been over like the argument over and over again, but like I am like at the end of the day, I am glad that a game like Temtem has come out.
Temtem.
Because like I want there to be some kind of competition.
Yes,
right?
Someone please challenge in any way.
Yeah, challenge Pokemon, because like at this rate, we're like, okay, Nintendo, you think you're slick and you think you're adding these new quote unquote new things. Nah, you're not. It's all really the same lame shit. And this whole stamina bar, I'm really about it. So either you fucking start changing some shit, or I might I myself might go to Temtem. So.
Dude, you should get Temtem. Temtem's good.
Yo, what if we all just started playing Temtem?
Yo, let's go. I'll battle you. My Tems are ready.
I mean,
but have you finished your Tempedia?
I have not finished the Tempedia. I have honestly not made very much progress with the Tempedia. I'm just focusing on those dojos. That's that end game shit. I'll finish the Tempedia shortly. I gotta beat the game first.
All right,
I gotta go to the top of Mount Moon and beat Red or whatever.
Every week I say I'm not just gonna yell about Pokemon, but it devolves into this. Let's get away before I keep screaming more.
But as a quick side note, can I just say Google randomly decided to throw a headline at me that says T-Pain streamed Doom Eternal for 2 hours with creative director Hugo Martin along for the ride.
Oh come on, T-Pain of all people. This is like almost as bad as Conan O'Brien.
Oh no!
Oh come on! This seems way funnier.
No, man, I'm just
2.5 hours of T-Pain.
Fucking losers play before
he even has Hugo Martin there.
The only thing I'm sure in that Let's Play that gives it any sort of legitimacy, because I don't give two fucks about. I don't even care, and this is a lot coming from me. And I don't even care if Juicy J was playing Doom Eternal. I don't even care.
That statement is sus.
I don't. I'd be curious, but I'd be furious about it though.
Curious but furious.
Curious but furious. I don't like this.
Fuck.
Look, that's just not a headline you get to see every day, okay?
It's not. Whatever, man. As long as he's not in the game like Conan O'Brien was for Death Stranding.
Oh, I doubt it. I doubt it.
Unless I get to blow T-Pain out of his fucking Nikes, then sure.
Damn.
While he's like a zombie on Mars, then sure, why not?
No, they just auto-tune one of like the mini boss enemies, and you know that that's the
God.
T-Pain one.
That's how you know. And I'll have a lot of satisfaction of just fucking destroying. Like I wouldn't even just blow him up with the BFG. I'd probably kill him with the machine gun out of pure
Oh, I
disrespect.
thought you were gonna say chainsaw.
No, that's too good for. That's also too good for
That's
him.
too good for him.
Gotta grab that little energy pistol from the start.
Yeah, I will literally kill him with the energy pistol. That's got infinite rounds in it, and I'll kill him with that before I kill him with anything else.
Speaking of curious but furious,
Oh my god.
Aiden's quest continues for the gold.
My quest continues for the gold, and Season 2 of Call of Duty Modern Warfare has begun with a 57 gigabyte patch.
Fuck off.
Yes.
I'm not going to be able to patch this game, I
Whoa,
don't think.
How big is the game itself?
150.
150 gigs.
150 gigs, but this is the third patch over 50 gigabytes that has been released.
You know, we
they
talk
said
about
it might not happen again though. They're like, "Yo, this is the last one, guys."
I mean, we talk about how Stadia eats into people's data caps like on a constant rate, that or like streaming services, but this is a fucking beast.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
fucking
It is
wild.
absurd.
It's
And,
all the
like-
textures, I'm sure. Like
I
you got the
guess.
textures
Probably.
and the level, like the tech, like they got so
But
many.
nothing else is this big.
No,
Doom Eternal is not going to be this big. I
No,
just don't-
but we're getting there, and
Sure, but,
that's
like-
the problem.
But like,
Also,
why
I
is this so
learned-
much bigger?
I learned, I think like a month or two ago, why it's like this.
Okay.
It's because when oh man, now I'm like forgetting the like one of the things, but one of the things is when they make the game, they create like more than one of the same asset because of some coding shit.
Oh god, not one of those.
Oh, great.
So it's like placeholder things, but like you also need this redundancy or the game ain't gonna act right. So
Oh,
like
in case it doesn't load the object in time or something.
yeah, so it's like okay, well we got like fucking however many blocks, right? It's like or like let's take I don't know, like Piccadilly or something like that. Like you got these buses here. Like oh well, this bus ain't rendering correctly, and then you just load into the next one. It's supposed to improve like load times and shit like that.
Man, I
Is
miss
that why?
the Gary's Mod source approach to it, where it's just if it doesn't load in time, just give us the pink checkerboard pattern and call it a day.
Yo, I'm all about it.
Asset not found.
Asset not found. Dude,
So I
holy
mean,
shit.
like, and this really kind of is leading into a larger problem for me, and is that I don't have any more fucking space on my computer anymore for
Yup.
shit like this.
Yeah.
I'm like, and games are only gonna get bigger, which is, I mean, shit. we gotta drop those NVMe prices, boys. Come on.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. I mean, though, out of all the games I do own, I would say that Modern Warfare is probably the worst, next to Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yep, Red Dead Redemption 2, Hitman 2
I mean,
is also like that. That's
at-
120 gigs or some shit like that.
But at
too.
least those games have such huge, expansive areas that it kind of makes sense why they need a shit ton of stuff going on in there. Call of Duty's maps overall are not that big.
They're not
There's a f-
big, but
No,
there's a
they're
lot
not.
of detail to them, and so
And
are like.
Yeah,
There's
but
not
I'm
a lot of
saying
repeating
like
objects. There's a lot of one-off objects in all these maps.
sure, but I'm saying like Red Dead at least is a game full of unique objects and like that's all in
fair.
there at once.
Oh, sure. You could fit all of Call of Duty's maps into a tiny corner of Red Dead Redemption. So it's like, you know, and that's fine. I've noticed this disturbing trend of like shit's just getting too fucking big now.
That actually reminds me. Did you? I forget if we talked about it, but you guys remember talking about the picture that leaked of the back of the Xbox, the next Xbox,
I did
The back
see
of
it.
where it showed what the ports were.
Yes,
No,
I
Well,
don't remember
so-
the significance of it though.
So originally, someone with the serial number on it posted a picture online of the back of a new Xbox and showed what ports it has, which isn't super significant, but there was a huge ass port on there that people were like, "Oh, that's probably a like diagnostics port for like a dev kit." But now apparently sources, one of my other podcasts I heard last week.
Sources.
Well, no, not mine, but
My
the
secret
podcast.
sources.
Apparently, people are now saying that that's actually a port for expanded hard drive space, which would be a big deal because both of these consoles are just going to be SSDs. They're not even going to have hard drives, and if you need things to load instantly, then you have to have some new type of external hard drive system. So people are saying wondering if it's like a super high-end new proprietary data transfer port that Microsoft might have proprietary so that you can still plug a hard drive into your Xbox One Series X or Xbox Series
And I wish
X.
people would actually just fucking use an eSATA port and not just abandon it after one generation.
What do you mean? We got to keep coming up with proprietary technologies.
That doesn't make the money.
It doesn't make the money, Friedman. Come on.
There was nothing wrong with eSATA, and it never took
Clearly
off.
there was. It wasn't making them enough money.
Or then maybe, I don't know, computers are fickle bitches. There might have been a problem.
Honestly, now thinking about it, these next consoles that are coming out are like you're gonna need that expanded storage.
Because think about how much money even a 500 gig SSD costs.
Yeah, they're still pretty expensive. They're still pretty
that's
pricey.
Like three games.
They've sort of gone down. So I was going to talk about during weeks, but I was looking at a lot of computer parts this weekend. I'll get to it, but like NVMe's are still really expensive. SSDs are finally like at a reasonable range.
Sure, but like mass produce it, or like let's say they go up to a terabyte, which would make more sense if games are over 100 gigs a pop. That's an expensive hard drive, and yet you still only have like 6 games.
Space, yeah.
Yeah, I mean you can fit like 6.5 Call of Duties in a terabyte.
Yeah.
All right.
This might be a big issue with going fully digital. Like discs are here to save you hard drive space.
Yeah.
Well, it's not like discs help though, because load times is the next big hurdle that like. Remember everyone was going nuts for that Spider-Man demo on PS5 where it's like, look at this no load time Spider-Man. Well, that only works because the freaking SSD is plugged hard into the thing.
I did not even hear that criticism. I know everyone's just complaining about like the ray tracing puddle reflections, and I didn't even hear about the load.
No, because that was, you're talking about a launch thing. There was like in the last year, I think like when Vice did their article announcing like the PS5 details or something, they also talked about having seen Spider-Man pushed forward to run on a PS5, and there was like no load times at all.
Yeah, so the significant thing about that, which was kind of jarring for me, was has everybody played Spider-Man?
Nope.
I have.
Okay, you
obviously.
have.
Only
Did the swinging feel kind of frustratingly slow in that game?
At times, yeah, I would say that it was good, but yeah, it was slow at times.
That is because the swing speed in that game was they tied it into
purpose?
Yes, they slowed it down because if they lined it up with how fast they could render the world.
Otherwise you get pop in.
Hard disk drive. Yeah. So when they were doing that PS5 demo, they were like, this is like what the SSD brings this game, and you can just loading things in faster was like this is why you can't swing fast in this game, because we don't want you to just fly off into like
I was gonna say
blockland.
Yeah, it's like it's not it's not like they didn't want you to go fast because they're trying to slow you down. It's like, no, we physically can't load the world. We have to slow you down.
Dude, that's some like Silent Hill 1 shit.
Well,
yo, man, this fog's real spoopy. What was the
Oh no, it was because we couldn't load more than 5 feet in front of your face.
Yeah, pretty much.
Now that was just the render distance, bro.
Well, Tim, I know you played Infamous 1, but in that game, generally speaking, you couldn't move fast enough that shit would pop in. Except the one part where you jump on a train rail and go full speed.
You just rip it up, and it's like, oh wait a minute.
Then pop-in was super obvious.
It's like, wait a minute, this game was not designed to handle this.
Yeah.
that was so sick though. And you just launch onto the rail and you just fucking rocket off, and you're like, man, can't I do this all the time? This is great.
Yeah, now I want to replay that game.
And then you jump off and you try to do the hover, but because of the way they coded it, you hover a lot slower than you move along the rail.
Oh yeah, you
so it's like
suddenly
slamming on the
real
brakes
fast.
if you start flying by floating. Speaking of floaty,
what?
I don't know.
I'm not sure how this is the transition, but
I didn't
let's just
look. I never played the game, so I can't make.
It's
the
time to
transition.
talk about the Final Fantasy VII trailer that came out last
Oh.
week. Yes, last
No,
week.
you know what's floaty? Clouds are floaty.
Get the fuck out of here. Oh my god.
Oh my god!
So-
I mean, it was a sick recovery.
The
Sick
podcast
recovery.
canceled.
Christ,
Oh
I'm
my
done.
god!
Fucking, can we just go to the no? All right. So the Final Fantasy VII trailer drops. It comes out with probably one of my
Sorry,
favorite
which
scenes to see.
trailer? Because there has been
Final
a bunch.
Fantasy VII Remake trailer. We got a new one last week. The opening scene has the flashback of Cloud and Tifa when they're kids, and Cloud's like, I'm going to be a soldier one day. And it was really cool to see that scene like shot for shot redone, because the first one is this super zoomed in blocky thing, whereas now it looks like a legitimate CG movie. But we did get our first taste of cross-dressing Cloud, which has been the #1 most requested thing to see in any of these trailers, because everyone wanted to see
Yes.
how it would be handled in this game.
Yes.
Just like
Yes.
Yes.
And I'm not gonna lie,
Yes.
Cloud looks very attractive as a woman. So they managed to play this off correctly. 'Cause
Yes.
in the original, you're like, there's no way this Dawn is gonna, think we look feminine. But now, we're pretty passing. So I think that the cross-dressing scene is not gonna draw that much controversy. I think it's mostly gonna be gamers talking about it because they think it'll be controversial, but not actually controversial.
I could see Kotaku writing a hit piece about it.
Let's be real.
Yeah.
Kotaku writes hit pieces on anything that breathes.
You're
Fair.
not
Fair.
wrong.
I still
not
remember the not real controversy about the Rising the Shield Hero rape accusations nonsense. It's just people are looking for a good controversy, whether it's there or not.
they're
And I
looking
don't
for
think,
clicks.
and I don't think the cross-dressing scene is going to be it. But the one thing I am super concerned about is, once again, we're seeing a lot of Sephiroth in this trailer. And for anyone who played 7, like one of the best parts about Sephiroth, and if any of you have enough time, you want to listen to some guy ramble on for 50 minutes. Super Eye Patch Wolf did a video on why Final Fantasy VII is so great. And one of the points he brings up that I resonate with a lot is, for the first third of the game, you don't see Sephiroth. And no one like talks directly about him. People just allude to like, man, that guy's almost as strong as Sephiroth, or they'll just talk about how the #1 soldier is Sephiroth. That's all you ever hear about him. And then you have the large flashback sequence that supposedly will be in this game, where like up till that point you're dealing like 50, 60 damage to an enemy, and you walk up to this snake in the flashback, and Sephiroth deals 9,999 damage to this enemy. And it really cements how much stronger than you he is. And that's the only glimpse you see of Sephiroth for like another third of the game. And I'm concerned they're going to blow that mystique surrounding him by just like jerking off to his memory in the first part of this game before anyone ever really talks about him.
I do think that is the case, because you think he's like a big selling point for the game, and I feel like also too, it's just like, everybody already knows who he is already.
Yeah, I was gonna say it feels like it's a time play where it's like, hey man, people know, even people who don't give a shit about Final Fantasy know the name Sephiroth.
Also,
Like,
if
let's
I
sell.
don't cry during the death scene, then it's an automatic failure for me.
Look,
That's not going to be until
confidence.
part 3 anyway, so it's fine.
So Tyler, I don't
You'll
know
have
if
2
this
years.
game. I don't know if this game is going to melt your. I don't want to say frozen heart, 'cause that sounds super mean, but you know what I'm trying to get to.
No,
I don't know
it's
if it's
pretty,
gonna.
it's pretty chilly.
You
I don't know if it's gonna melt.
cold-hearted
Well, no,
bitch.
frozen heart when it comes to Square Enix properties. There, I'll say it.
That's fair.
But despite all the shittiness of the Kingdom Hearts 3 ending, I'm not gonna lie. I cried during the ending. It got to
the
me.
very end of the.
Yeah, the very end, where it's just like, Sora doesn't get to be happy, but everyone else does. Like that was a touching moment for me. I cried a little bit. And the end of Final Fantasy 15, like the actual post-credit sequence, I cried during that too. So
I could see why Kingdom Hearts 3 would be. It's like, especially
it was also like the end of an era, so it was very emotional for me.
Exactly.
But point is, if there's one thing that I think Square Enix can pull off in the modern era, if it's not going to be gameplay, then it's got to be touching cutscenes. I feel like they figured out the art. Like after they got over the hump of awkwardness that was the Final Fantasy 13 saga, they figured out how to do emotional cutscenes.
If I don't hear Stand By Me in this game, I'm gonna be a little bit upset.
Stand By Me doesn't play. Dude, I would die. I wouldn't be able to continue the game. I wouldn't be able to. Dude, when Freeman was playing it, or when you were playing it, Aiden, that's right.
Oh yeah, when I beat. Yep.
I was like, yo, it's messed up because I beat this already and I've experienced this and it still hurts.
Yeah.
So if I don't get that same kind of hit,
the problem is we already know it's coming.
We already know it's coming, but that's the thing. I knew the ending was coming to Final Fantasy 15 because I beat it. But did it stop the tears? No.
You know what I knew?
A really good scene.
Action is coming.
Action is coming. Actual tears, man.
Tyler.
Aiden.
What can I say? You guys are the best.
No. Stop.
Damn.
Stop. Come on.
I don't want to hurt anymore.
Come on, man. Come on. You gotta stop.
No, we only talk like lighthearted shit about Final Fantasy 15. You only talk about new recipes and
new recipes.
Cup noodles.
And cup noodles.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
All right. So that last little bit got kind of weeby. So let's just go right into the weeb shit.
There we go.
So very small news this week. We're in the middle of a season. Some shows are getting their confirmation that yes, they're going to be in spring. So like the quintessential quintuplets, they finally confirmed that's coming back. Fall 2020. So that season's going to be stacked. This season's not looking amazing. A couple of shows I started are kind of petering out. And I don't know if I'm going to follow through with them. Like Inspector is apparently getting super boring, and I regret picking that one first because the other show that starts with the letter I and then another letter and then a punctuation and then the rest of the word, which was I think ID Invaders, is apparently the superior show between the two of this. So I gotta go check that one out. But in terms of real news, in order to celebrate the Crunchyroll Anime of the Year Awards, they partnered with Twitch again, bringing back my favorite event of the year, which is Twitch Watches Anime, which is happening right now. So listeners, if you're listening to this, it's probably gonna be like Thursday. You got another day to watch, but I linked the Reddit thread for you guys so you can see what they're showing. And unfortunately, they fucked up all the time zones. So all the good shit is airing at like 3 a.m. EST.
Wow.
So this morning they had Rising the Shield Hero started at 3:30 in the morning and went continuously. This afternoon they had the Konosuba season 1. Or no, sorry, I'm off. Tomorrow morning at 3 a.m. they're doing Rising the Shield Hero. But tomorrow afternoon they're doing the Konosuba season 1 dub, which, as we all know, Twitch is just going to eviscerate because it's in English.
Konosuba.
But we got Konosuba, we have Rise of the Shield Hero, Black Fox, an interesting watch, and we have Mob Psycho 2 is coming again on Thursday, like late hours. These are all going to be very fun to watch with Twitch. If you haven't watched them or have watched them, I cannot cement enough how much funnier it is to watch people react to the dumb bullshit in these shows.
So is it happening like right now?
It's happening right now. So let's see.
Live on air.
They should be in the middle of...
I can't check or it'll show up on the podcast.
Shonen, Ashibe, Go 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 Goma-chan. What the fuck is this show? oh, it looks like a derpy comedy, like a Shin-chan-esque show they're showing right now.
Shin-chan. Do you guys remember that? Have you seen that?
Yes.
Never even heard of that.
Dang, are you sure this is Shin-chan? It's basically the same looking show.
It looks very close. I'm trying to figure out if it's just like the same creator.
Yo, but that show is booty cheeks.
What, Shin-chan?
Yeah.
I'm not going to defend that show.
I know, you better not.
Anyway.
God, I'm not going to keep watching this show.
If you are still curious, and if you're on at 11 o'clock tonight, which none of you will know because it's too late, Given is coming out, which is a very touching show about a bunch of guys forming a band. So if you like music anime, that one's coming out tonight. And then tomorrow, Rise of the Shield Hero, Konosuba, Given again. Pretty much everything's just straight up on repeat, and then Ascendance of a Bookworm at 4 in the morning on Friday. But for anyone who's listening to this, 10 p.m. they're doing Rise of the Shield Hero again. So 10 p.m. Friday is probably the best bet for you to catch people shit posting on the internet to a show that's worth shit posting about. So 10 p.m. Friday, East Coast. Do it.
There you go.
During
work.
Oh, you guys gonna be at work during it?
Oh, at 10 p.m. Oh.
Yeah, no, I'm not watching it.
Oh, wait, no, I'm not going to be at work.
Yeah, so go at least watch episode 1 of Shield Hero with Twitch chat on. Moving on to a real So Twitch is a great way to enjoy anime. We're going to talk about an even better way to enjoy anime. So
in your apartment.
In my apartment with the boys. So I may
and Val.
Yeah, we can't leave that Val watch this monstrosity. So anyway, I'm going to talk briefly about the show that we watched this weekend. So there was a bit of controversy the last weeks because there was a show called Interspecies Reviewers, which if anyone read the synopsis, which clearly Funimation did not, this show is about a fantasy world where you have like humans, you have elves, you have halflings, you have octopus people, there's cat people, there's dragonkin, there's every freaking race imaginable. But in this town, there's a red light district, and there's a lot of different brothels, and each species has their own brothel, and that's when we meet Stunks, the main character, who's bold enough to say, "I want to know who's the best, which species is the best lay." So him and his friends decide to start reviewing each and every species, and that's the plot synopsis. So you think that, okay, this is a show about sex, it might be a little raunchy, and you'd be right because it's straight up hentai. And Funimation had no idea about that when they bought the exclusive rights to simuldub this show as it's coming out. But they also got the censored copy, which little did we know would have like 5 minutes straight of just black screen because they can't figure out a way to censor what's on screen because there's just too much shit being thrown in your face. So Funimation is like, not only did we not expect to put our actors through this kind of a show, it's really hard to have them act in front of a screen with nothing on it. So we are just dropping the dub of this show. We are no longer releasing it. There's no longer an official international licensor for this show. And then later in the week, 2 stations in Japan are like, yeah, we didn't sign up for this either. We don't want this airing on our channel. We're canceling this too. So it's now only on one local station and on ATX, which is like the HBO of Japan. So it's still out there. You absolutely have to sail the 7 seas to watch this show. And just because of the controversy, I had to watch this to see what it was about, and I watched the first 3 episodes.
Not only watch it solo, but also...
And we need to kill some time on Sunday while everyone's in person, so I showed it to most of the TNT podcast here. And I only showed them episode 1, which is by far the most...
tame is what you said.
The tamest episode I've seen so far.
What an experience.
So what'd you think of this hentai?
It also is pretty funny watching Val get extra
cringe at like
I
everything.
forgot to turn back to see her reaction for a while.
I was watching her.
She turned red a few times. It was pretty funny.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully she doesn't think I'm too weird because of this.
No, Freeman. She's not like ignorant to the ways of the world, but she's definitely the most innocent out of all of us.
Remember, this is the same person who I was like, "Yo, Val, have you broken a rule? What law have you broken?"
She's the closest to a real life paladin.
And she's like, "No, I haven't broken it." And then I forgot even what she said. I was like, "No. Did you speed? No. Have you taken anything? No. Have you taken anything from a store? No." I'm like, come on. Have you ever downloaded anything illegally? No.
Oh no, I think this devolved to, have you ever jaywalked? And she said no.
Oh yeah, yes. Yes.
Anyway, this show is very funny if you are a man of heavy culture.
I'm talking.
And you're not bothered.
A very specific palette.
Like if you go onto the anime meme subreddit and you're straight up not bothered by the gross amounts of hentai memes, then you are gonna love this show. It's fucking hilarious. But if you fit anywhere but that demographic, I'm going to warn you, this show is a little jarring at first. And at second. And third. And all the way up till episode 5. It's very jarring. So just be warned.
That being said, the jokes are pretty funny. Except for some of the puns where I just kind of rolled my eyes. I was just like, Jesus. But the concept is pretty funny.
Are you referring to the hilarious one pun with parakeet more like gonna skeet or something?
Yeah, dude, literally every kind of joke like that.
So it's just the elf guy. He ends all of his reviews in a shitty pun. That's just his thing.
It's like, fine, man, we were probably not gonna watch that show anyway.
Oh, definitely not. But when like they zoom in on the bulge and we were all rolling on the floor laughing,
I was dying. Little do they know that I
have both.
The worst part is I can't unhear other characters, so all I hear is Senku from Stone World and Dr. Stone and
for me the
Rico
voice is different enough.
Abyss.
For me the voice is different enough that I don't hear Senku. Like when I try,
100%.
I hear it sometimes, but like it's far enough away from me that I don't.
But now it's a struggle because I'm hearing these characters on this crazed sex adventure, and it's just very off-putting. But I'm laughing the entire time.
Now I'm re-remembering bits of the episode. It's so stupid. Oh god.
Anyway, I didn't put the next one on, but I should have. I completely forgot about this. Tim,
yeah,
did you want to talk about this?
I don't know the name. So basically, My Hero is a pretty big deal. This My Hero Academia thing.
Never heard of it.
Never heard. Macadamia nut.
However, recently a new character was introduced, a villain doctor named Dr. I don't know the name.
It sounds like a common Japanese name, but the name
it is also shares the name with like a Chinese like atrocity that Japan committed or something.
So Japan did a lot of human testing during World War II, and this doctor was responsible for a lot of it.
Well, this doctor in the manga shares a name with the doctor who did all this horrible testing in China. And so when the chapter of the manga came out that had this new doctor character in it, China's government basically went, no, this is fucked up, after an outcry on Chinese social media, whatever that means. And even though Shonen Jump and the creator of the manga said, we're sorry, we're going to rename the character, My Hero was basically immediately cut from China. Like, what was it, like one of the main streaming services for the anime and the manga was both just immediately
it's completely
sliced.
dropped from Bilibili, which is basically like Chinese YouTube. All the mobile games have been blocked. Tencent is dropping support.
Wow.
So they went full scorched earth because of this.
Yes.
So obviously My Hero is still enormous, like here in the States and in the West. It's one of the biggest anime in the world, but still, like, China is one of the biggest, for better or worse, China is one of the biggest markets in existence and one of the fastest growing, I think, at least in terms of anime.
They're about to be the smallest.
Jesus.
Damn.
God damn it.
We won't talk about that.
No, we are going to talk about it because I have a point. I have a point to bring up about it in the Weeb chat.
That's literally the next
segue.
subject.
I know, I'm sorry, but we're not done because
we're not done.
Apparently they have reissued with a new name for the character. But no word yet on if this will undo anything in China. Knowing China, it easily might not. They easily might be like, no, we're offended.
It's kind of a one and done thing. One strike, you're out.
Yeah, with China. So
that's fucked up.
Hopefully this doesn't mean anything bad long term for My Hero. Obviously, we talked a few weeks about what was it, Freeman? The anime that rushed out because the mobile game was launching in China or something.
It was two. It was Index Season 3 and then the Is It Wrong to Pick Girls in Dungeon Season 2 and 3 both got like, you got to go now. This mobile game is launching in China. We need a cross-media promotion.
So anime seems to be getting huge in China too, but so this is a big blow to My Hero, so hopefully it doesn't impact the show in the long run, like on Shonen or the anime production. I can't imagine it does because
it probably does. Most of these production committees are Japan. It's not even Japan first, it's Japan only for most of these production committees. Like, the rest of the world's an afterthought.
Right, but I mean, My Hero seems to be a special case considering, like, we had the My Hero movie get an extended... Like, remember when it came out last year, and then they bumped it out more because of how incredibly successful it was here? Like,
so that's 100% Funimation was the one who picked to do that because they had the movie rights to it, and they're like, yeah, we can definitely get another full night of people watching. So that
sure, but I mean, that doesn't...
Like, it's their new cash cow. Like, DBZ used to be the Funimation show. Like, they named their fucking streaming service the Plus Ultra service. Like, Hero Academia is Funimation. Like, there's Basic, Plus, and Plus Ultra are the 3 tiers to their service. So they're all in on Hero Academia. So
either way, that's a wild fucking ride, and it just goes to show for how much they like to saber rattle constantly, China really seems to have like paper thin skin, which everybody already knew. But speaking of China,
so a lot of people were talking about whether the coronavirus was going to impact anime production because a lot of animation work is outsourced to China and Southeast Asia.
Turns out the anime's answer is yes.
Yeah, so we're starting to see the first show to take a hit for anyone who watches some of the more cutesier anime out there, like Umaru-chan or did Gamers or no, it was New Game. Anyway, point is, Studio Doga Kobo, who just does these cute girl shows, they outsource a lot to China, and for the first time ever, a slice of life anime had to stop and do a recap episode because all of their animators are just unable to work because of the heavy quarantines in certain cities in China right now. And it's becoming an issue because a lot of these studios still work with paper animation cells, and the problem is they can't deliver paper animation cells to Japan because they may be contaminated. So anyone who was previously working with paper needs to convert what they're doing to digital and outsource to only people who can work through digital who aren't being impacted by any of the quarantines in China right now, and it's getting really iffy. So we might start seeing some bigger shows impacted. This is definitely a case of animators who work on multiple projects definitely dropped the smaller studio to try and finish what they could given the shitty situation.
Right.
So unfortunately, this crappy slice of, I think it's like Asteroid in Love or something, which is part of a whole nother controversy because it was a Crunchyroll exclusive that's now making its way to Funimation, and now we're dealing with timed exclusives in anime. But that's a story for another day. Right now, I'm hoping that the virus is contained and it doesn't impact people's lives any more than it impacts our anime. But it's an all-around shitty situation.
Fucking damn.
God
yeah.
damn.
Which is why I was
pretty bad all around.
Which is why I was ready to make that, and then Ty was like, "Oh, they're already dropping dead in China." I'm just like, "Jesus, I can't make this point."
Whoa! I didn't say that. I said they would be the least.
Oh,
different words. Different.
Oh, okay.
Same connotation.
Sorry, completely same meaning, but whatever. Anyway, on to the last point. The editor in chief of Shonen Jump came out and he made a statement a week or two ago because he was asked. It was part of a larger Q&A, and they asked, like, "Can you talk about Demon Slayer's sudden rise in popularity?" And he 100% attributed the jump due to just a successful anime adaptation. But more importantly, they said it didn't have to do with weekly viewers. So for most manga that gets an anime, as the anime's airing, sales of the manga will go up, like just throughout the release of the show. And then usually they'll like either peak or taper off right after the finale. Because a lot of people will just kind of be like, okay, show's over, let me buy the next volume just to see what happens next. But what they saw with Demon Slayer was viewership numbers spiked after it finished, and it was 100%. They said streaming audience caught on after it finished airing, and that was when we saw a majority of the growth was after the show was already over. And he said that they need to pay attention to that because they think that focusing more on streaming and not just on the live airing on TV may lead to better exposure to shows. So this may lead them to making shows that are just, how do I put this, streamer friendly. Right now, Shonen Jump is pretty whatever with their streams. Like, I guess most of them end up getting through Viz, which is limited availability, but like it got to Crunchyroll, so a lot of people saw. Like, people know that at least in the US, Crunchyroll's like the big anime watch site, second only probably to like Netflix in terms of exposure shows get. But I wouldn't be surprised if Shonen Jump started partnering with Netflix going forward if they realize that like streaming is the way to get this shit promoted. But regardless, they did acknowledge that Demon Slayer is super popular. And they did not acknowledge that it was 100% the animation studio doing a fucking stellar job is the reason people are watching this show. And I want more people to suck Studio Ufotable's dick like I am.
Dude, man, I'm already there.
Yeah,
First episode, they got me.
Yeah, I'm on board.
Can't wait for this
lollipop,
movie.
My dude.
Yeah, I'm preaching to the choir here. But the point is, I want them to make season 2. I don't want them to just do movies for the rest of time.
I think they'll have to do a season 2 after this movie. I mean, Freeman, didn't you say that like the big reason for this movie is because the next arc is perfectly sized for a movie?
Yeah, I don't actually have any clue. I'm just repeating what I hear on Reddit. But the problem is there are other big franchises.
Reddit's never wrong.
Eventually, they're like, oh, let's transition into movie series because they're way more. What's the term I'm looking for? They print more money than TV shows do. They're more profitable overall per hour spent in effort.
I believe that.
But anyway, that is it for the Weeb shit.
Wahoo! And instead of going to weeks like we normally do, we decided, well, actually, I don't know. Considering what time it is, I'll actually ask you guys, do we want to cover this topic or do we want to just move into weeks because it is 9:30 at night already?
No, why not? Why not do
we can do it real quick.
See,
I'm
yeah,
just gonna
we,
grab a bottle of water while we deliberate
there's
here.
a reason why I
Okey-dokey.
picked 3. And yo, are you just saying that just because you can't pick 3? I see you still got 5
No,
on here.
I'm gonna I have my pick. I'm just
Mhm.
saying, like, it's 9:30, people get tired.
Mhm.
But yeah,
You
so
can
our
bang this out
topic
in a half hour.
our topic is you know, a lot of websites have been rushing, mostly in January, it's mostly died off now, but they were rushing to do their top of the decade for 2010 to 2019 of movies, games, everything under the sun. And so Tyler had the idea of, why don't we do that on a small level? And why don't we all just pick 3 movies from the last 10 years that were a huge deal for us? Or maybe our top 10, or like top 10 most influential. You know, whatever you want. Just 3 top movies from the last 10 years. And we're all just going to pop through them one at a time. And yeah, we're going to try not to linger too long, but these are almost all movies that just deserve recognition from the last 10 years. I don't think there's a single loser among them, because unlike a lot of lists, they're like top 100 movies in the last 10 years or top 500 movies in the last 10 years. It's like, there's a lot of good movies in the last 10 years, but also we're not reviewers, so we don't see a lot of movies. Like I said, I only...
Yourself. No, I'm just kidding. I don't see a lot of movies either.
I mean, you go to the movies a lot more than I do, but even
No,
then...
I don't go as much as a movie reviewer would, though. Yeah.
No, that's very true. Speaking of Tyler, why don't you give us one of your picks?
So, I guess I could start with. All right. So this, I mean, I guess this is.
Okay,
I guess in
I will say
order.
real quick.
I'll put it in order from last to first.
Well, okay, we can do that.
For me, no, this is just a me thing. You guys don't have to do it.
Okay. Well, I was just gonna say, it's funny how, looking at me, Aiden, and Tyler, we all kind of have themes to our
Yeah,
to our top 10s.
that is very true.
Mine are just fun. Aiden likes spaceships, and Tyler likes killing people.
Here I go killing again. So one of mine is a Sicario.
Yes.
And this movie impacted me pretty hard, like, when I think about it. And like, I got to this movie late in the game. I ended up seeing it like 2 years after it came out.
I wasn't that late, but I definitely didn't see it in theaters.
Yeah, and I found out this movie from watching Hell or High Water, because that was, I think, Oscar nominated.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting. And then like I kind of looked into like, well, who directed it and like who made it. It's like, oh, it's like a part of the American Frontier trilogy, like written by the same guy. So I was like, oh, he made this movie called Sicario. And I'm like, all right, sure, let me give this a whirl. So I acquired it and I watched it one day and I was like, yo, holy smokes. And like now I'm just kind of looking for more stuff like this now.
I don't think few things will ever be as incredible as that scene where they ride across the border.
No, it's probably one of the best like scenes I've ever seen in a movie, honestly.
Period. Just period. Like, it's astounding how well done it is. It's so tense the entire time. And when they stop in the traffic and you just see the guys in the other car, and he's like, you don't even know what's happening. You're just sitting in a car and you're like you can tell the actors got tense. And you're just like, what the fuck? What is happening right now? What is about to happen right now? And it's just like, don't get out of that car. Don't get out of that car. Don't get out of that car. Oh, it's so good.
It's just cool. It's one of those things where like everything kind of fits. Like I could go like just like all like the other movies I have on this top 3. I could literally talk to you guys about like obviously hours about why they're so good, but to summarize it, it's really like I was a huge fan of the story. The talent was great. The sound design and cinematography were just top notch, and but the main reason why I like it so much is because um honestly it's inspired a lot of the writing that I've been doing for D&D and stuff. To do a lot more, or at least like wanting to like write and pursue a lot more grounded works. where like things aren't like, oh, there is no real hero, and like there's so much gray that you can't tell
And
what
red.
is what anymore. Yeah, and red. But that's what the movie's about. It's very in your face on like, you think you know what like bad stuff is. You have no idea, and it kind of paints that similar thing to like a Training Day.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, but I mean, in that movie, it's like it's clear that spoiler for anyone who hasn't seen it, but like you could tell that like, this guy who looks like a bad guy, but like you could tell he's doing some kind of thing, like he's really a bad guy. Uh, but this one's good. Yeah, I like Sicario a lot, and I
Yeah,
always, and
same.
I highly recommend anyone who's into that like anti-hero shit
Hurt
or
Locker or Zero Dark 30.
yeah, those kind of movies
Similar
definitely.
military thriller kind of thing, but this is neat because the protagonist doesn't know what's happening in this movie.
Yeah, and I hate Emily Blunt. Everybody knows me. I hate her so much. I hate her so much, and like I get some kind of sick thrill because I'm like, she's going through this whole thing, and like she has no idea what's going on.
Sick thrill is right, Jesus.
Dude, I just don't like her. I think she's just a shitty actress. But that being said, I think they picked the best person for that role.
Mm-hmm.
Like they picked her and like they wrote her character in a very specific way
Mm-hmm.
of like, she's a badass. She likes to go in and like try to save the day, blah blah blah. She's done all this good work. And then she goes and then it's like, okay, like now you've upgraded to like big boy status. Here's what the big boys do. And she like completely loses touch with like how she thinks the world works. And it's all ripped out from under her. And she's just like the whole movie, she's just trying to catch up.
Right.
And I think that's like that alone is just it's amazing.
Aiden, why don't you give us one of your movies?
Interstellar, because I like space.
Yeah, that's a good one.
You and Freeman both. I saw only one of the movies on your list, and Tyler, I saw all three.
Weird.
I did not see. I never actually got around to seeing Interstellar.
Interstellar has one of the most fantastic 3D representations of 4D space.
Interesting.
But the
and like I just like a lot of the physics in that movie are just correct. So like it's just it's just a good movie. Like it's a good movie with like just a solid plot, good storytelling, great actors. But it also deals a lot with like, hey, like what are the actual problems that we would have to deal with if we became a spacefaring species? And it deals a lot with like gravity and like the passage of time and how traveling through space and dealing with objects in space are not necessarily just like, oh hey, this is Mass Effect, we just teleport to all the places and everything's the same, when in reality if you went through like a warp gate in Mass Effect, it's like 2,000 years in the fucking future because you've been traveling at the speed of light and like time is just progressing beyond you.
Light's not that fast.
True. Yeah. Light is not that fast. Light is actually very slow.
I mean, light's fast, but it's not fast enough for what we need to do if we're going other places.
I did like Interstellar for that. I did like because I think a lot of science fiction, like they do a lot of talking and why like, oh, like this is why we go into cryo sleep, right? Because like real travel time and like act like, oh, like I forget what the hell. Oh yeah, like Altered Carbon kind of talks about that, like in a different vein, where it's like, oh, I've lived actually like 80 years, but like, my consciousness has been around for 200. And it's like that's the same thing with going into cryo. And then like in a very short time, they're able to illustrate like, 2 minutes here equals like fucking 30 years on the ship, and you're like, holy fuck, like it hits you.
Yeah.
And I think they do a very good job at illustrating that point in how dire the situations were. Yeah, I did like Interstellar for that. I think it was a little weird. I agree with you. The 4D representation was as well as it was going to get ever.
Yeah.
I thought it was a little corny, but like that was the only way it was ever going to make sense to Matthew McConaughey's character at the time.
Yeah,
So
and I mean, like,
upset with it.
What other way are you gonna represent a tesseract in three-dimensional space?
Yeah, but for real though, yeah.
But it was like there's a special place in my heart for that movie. I just thoroughly enjoyed it. Like, all the science was there, because like a lot of my whole thing with science fiction is that there too much of it a lot of the time is just fiction. Like, I appreciated the fact that it was like, these are all real. Like, they did a great job of implementing actual like physics into their movie.
It's almost like it's science non-fiction fiction. Like, it's
yeah.
Like, I know how silly that sounds, but it kind of gets the point across of like realistic sci-fi kind of.
Yeah, like, it's fiction, but like it's all like, these are all feasible things. Like, it's not like it's
not impossible.
Some fucking outlandish shit.
Yeah.
Which, like, the reason why I like another movie on your list a lot, for the same reason. The third one down.
I'm sure. Well, yeah, I know. We'll get to that.
Oh yeah, that one's the one I love. I'll hit one of mine. I know this is kind of the lame answer, but Avengers, man.
Ooh.
I know it's easy to pick an MCU thing, but honestly, considering Iron Man 1 was 2008 and is ineligible, the first Avengers movie was the only one I'd pick for Marvel. Like, Endgame has tons of fan service. Infinity War is one of the best made ones. Like, there's a lot of good Marvel movies, but Avengers 1 was just actual magic. Like, there will be few movies that were just so incredible to watch that first time. Like again, Endgame, it's awesome. There's like a million characters on screen, but that all doesn't exist unless Avengers 1 works. Like, Avengers 1 it was such an impossible thing to even think would be, like, no one could make that. How do you take that? Like, we've had what? Oh, like, yeah, like Tony Stark showed up in the end of that Hulk movie and Nick Fury was there. Like, oh man, they're never going to actually make anything of it though. How do you put all these characters in a movie from other movies? That's ridiculous. And it just came together on so many levels. Loki is still one of the best villains anyone talks about from the whole MCU. And all of that comes back to this movie. And it's just, I don't need to talk about it that much because everyone sees it, has seen it, and knows what I'm talking about. But like that scene where they pan around all the characters, or the fight in New York City, or watching all the characters just sit at a table and talk together, or when they start arguing in the ship and Hulk and Thor start fighting and Thor just holds out his hammer and Mjolnir flies through the ship and then he just uppercuts Hulk with it, and Hulk trying to pick up the hammer and everything. It's so incredible. I just can't get over it, how there's nothing like it, and especially now that the MCU feels like it's
now.
Yeah.
Well, it was the first part of many people's dreams. Like, before I mean, in hindsight, right? Like, thinking back on it now, like, it was so hype because everybody's like, oh yeah, they're finally doing it. Like, we're getting like the Marvel universe.
Yep.
Like, because up until that point, it was like, you'd see those references, like, oh, Tony shows up at the end of whatever, and fucking all this other shit happened. But it's like the one I can't remember any of the after credit scenes from Phase 1. I'm sorry.
There's Howard the Duck. There's fucking and Guardians of the Galaxy.
That's not Phase 1 though.
Oh, that's not Phase 1.
But it's like
Phase 1, like, hinting at Infinity Stones and
yeah. Remember CGI Thanos at the end of Avengers?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It was just like it was the beginning of what everybody hoped would be great and ultimately was, because they didn't DCU it up.
No, DCU
Actually,
was like,
so-
yo, we gotta go fast.
So I didn't mention this in the news, but after getting great reviews, the Harley Quinn movie only opened to 33 million this weekend, and is officially being renamed Harley Quinn: The Birds and the Birds of Prey from its crazy long title.
Damn.
So
Really?
it looks like in this case the movie was fine, but the messaging and the fact that it's
Oh, it might have just been
kind
bad
of
marketing.
mentally tied to Suicide Squad has kind of hurt this movie a lot. Plus, it's rated R, and it's no Deadpool.
It's not Deadpool, which also came out this decade.
Captain Deadpool.
And both,
Also,
both
I mean,
movies
like-
were fantastic.
The critics' opinions mean literally nothing.
No, I know,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
like just as context, like it reviewed well, but it's an R-rated movie that's targeted at a younger audience. It seems like because it's all about girl power, and it's just like the name, the full name is ridiculous. It comes off Suicide Squad, which is the last time we saw Harley Quinn, and no one liked that movie. So, but anyway, we're talking about Avengers.
Avengers was neat. I liked it.
Good movie. It had shawarma in it. I like shawarma.
The shawarma scene
The
at the
shawarma.
end. All right, Friedman, give us one.
So I should have transitioned off of Aiden's comment, or someone made about like science non-fiction that sort of makes sense.
Oh,
And
sorry, that was
my first
mine,
movie on the
my
list
bad.
is science non-fiction that makes absolutely zero sense. So Inception was one of my favorite movies of the last 10 years, mostly
Yeah.
because anyone you talk to, it's a fight between, was that movie intellectually thought-provoking or was that movie fucking stupid? And I think because it treads that line very well, I love it to death, because you can approach it from a serious aspect and look at how the movie tries to handle different concurrent plot lines at the same time, like the layers to it.
Yeah, the van,
And then you can
yeah.
kind of turn your brain off, and at the end of the day, it's sort of just an action movie that has a unique plot setup. But it was good enough that I saw it in theaters 3 times, and then when I got it on
Wow.
Blu-ray, I showed it to literally everyone I knew, and ended up watching it like 10 times the year it came out.
Damn.
Holy
Like
crap!
I really enjoyed that movie. Like every time I watched, I had fun with it. There's always shit I was noticing in it. So
It also
that's why
launched a sound genre.
yes.
Blah.
Like I don't
That
know if
Christopher
Hans
Nolan
Zimmer
shit.
did any other soundtracks like it before that, but believe me, after that, every single one of his soundtracks sounded exactly the same. Loud
No,
noises.
he was it him and
Loud noises.
he did the soundtrack for Blade Runner for 2049.
Yeah.
Some did, but he mostly went back to like that old formula. But yes, most of his stuff nowadays are literally just the loud low horns.
The thing is, in the movie, the loud horns are thematically tied to the soundtrack and the plot of the movie.
Oh,
but
totally.
the one that everyone knows it for, the trailer, has nothing to do with the plot line of that movie, and that's
Yeah.
the one that definitely stood out to people.
I like that movie a lot.
It's
was-
easy to forget about it because it is 10 years old this year.
It is. It's
Yeah.
getting up there in age.
But
But it's
man,
got,
like
it's got an all-star cast.
that hallway scene when
Oh,
the
with
van
Joseph
goes over.
Gordon-Levitt and
Yeah, that was
Dude, that was
oh.
dope.
And then you see the behind the scenes where they built this rig to do that.
Oh yeah, for them to do the running down the hallway while it's spinning. It's really cool
Yeah.
because that was entirely a practical effect.
I know, that's just it's so cool.
I thought it was cool. That was my favorite movie for a while when it came out, and I also watched it a lot. But like I saw so many more things that I'm like, God damn.
I'll say I've
Yeah.
never seen a movie in theater 3 times. Even Iron Man 1 I saw only twice, so that's impressive.
Yeah. I do like what Inception sparked with the Leonardo DiCaprio movies. How it's like,
Oh, there's
Yo.
a timeline connecting all of his roles together thanks to
Yeah.
Inception.
I'm like, damn, this is actually kind of cool. I'm not gonna
That's
lie.
funny.
The Leo
Especially with
cinematic
Shutter
universe.
Island, dude.
Oh god.
Yes.
Um
I love it.
all right, back to the top of the list, I guess. Why shake it up, Tyler?
Yeah, the
Second
Django Unchained.
E
I mean,
Django.
That's a good movie.
Django. The D is silent.
Also another movie with Leo in it.
Yes, also another movie with Leo in it. So
Speaking of
I have
scenes,
watched
wow.
this movie at least once a year since it came out.
Wow.
Really?
Yes.
That's
Yes,
impressive
I
as
love
hell.
this movie a lot.
Hmm.
And it like
I need to rewatch it. I haven't
as-
seen it since it first came out.
aside from watching, what else did I see a little bit before that? I played Red Dead Redemption 1. And I played and I watched the remake of True Grit,
Ooh.
and that kind of awakened me, but like this movie really made me want to go watch westerns. Cuz I'm like, god damn, like I feel like I've been missing out on a genre here. And so like it really
Most
sparked
of
me to
them
do.
aren't like this.
Most of them aren't like this at all, but I still like them anyway. Like most of the spaghetti westerns, like a few, like pretty much any like Clint Eastwood thing
No,
that
totally. I like
came out.
westerns. I'm just saying, like, they are not like this. So if you,
They're nothing
most
like
people who
this.
go like, Django Unchained, why don't I go watch a Clint Eastwood movie like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly? It's like, this is not the
Yeah.
same thing.
It's totally not the same thing, but I love, like, man, I love all of the characters. I love the writing. I love the story. I feel like it has a good balance of like, I guess some kind of there are funny moments, but like the subject matter is also very serious.
hmm
Um and like the action scenes are just really cool. Like I was never really the biggest fan of Jamie Foxx. Like I liked him in Collateral. But outside that, like I think he was okay here too, but I never liked him much as an actor. But I would say everybody else's performance kind of like put it up there. Like Leo's oh my god. The guy who played the doctor. Why am I blanking
Christoph
on?
Waltz.
Yeah, Christoph Waltz.
Nazi man.
Always like banger performances. Samuel Jackson, um, like fucking like everybody in there, like to like the smallest role, I felt like gave it their all.
I know I keep talking about scenes, but the scene where Leo crushes the glass and then you find out later he did actually slice his hand open
Yes,
and he kept
Yeah.
acting through it anyway.
Yeah, it's
That
That
disgusting.
just makes that scene
It's
more
commendable, but
awesome.
it's disgusting.
It's pretty disgusting, but also
Yeah.
pretty great too.
When you realize that's actually his blood that he wipes on that chick's face.
Yeah.
On Kerry Washington's face, yeah, it's a little.
That's kind of like fucked up, but goddamn, was that like it was a hell of a performance.
Yeah, like they're again another movie that I can just think about, and like I think of like Django is a good, like was also just written well, like the characters, like how I thought it was interesting. I was kind of, for some reason, I don't know what triggered me to think about it, but I was like, yo, Django, this is kind of like, wait, who hasn't seen it though? Has everybody seen it?
This
Yeah,
might
I've
be
seen
like
it.
the only movie we've all seen.
Okay, yeah. So this movie, I thought it was interesting how it's like everybody's characters basically like make sense. Like they don't deviate from whatever path they're on and whatever motivations. And I think Django is well written, even though like Jamie Foxx's performance comes off as flat. Like the way they wrote him was great because
They wrote into it.
they wrote into it, because like in the beginning, like Christoph Waltz's character like talks about saving Brunhilde, and how like the knight will do anything, even go through hellfire. Like they illustrate that like literally later in the movie after the dynamite explodes, but like they showed like Django's character motivation, like he was willing to be the black slaver, like be this literal like piece of garbage that even he would probably kill with his own bare hands just so he can get to his wife. And I'm like, dang, like that's super cool. And a lot of movies and shows like forget themselves a lot of the times. I feel like this is just one of those movies that just do a good job with that. Also, a side note, real quick, I've talked about it before, but I'm upset that when Quentin Tarantino put out this movie, or put out The Hateful Eight after this movie, he did the 80 millimeter or whatever. He filmed that
Oh,
movie.
he shot it on real film as opposed to digital.
Yeah, as opposed to digital for like a wider screen. I'm like upset he did it with Hateful Eight instead of
Oh, and not Django.
Django, because Django had so many outdoorsy
Yeah.
scenes that would have benefited even at the mansion or at the plantation
That
house at the
last
very.
scene where he's walking away.
Yeah.
It would have so many things would have benefited from what he would have done. I think it would have fit his vision a lot better, and I think that's why he wanted to do it in Hateful Eight. But then he fucking botched it, and all the damn scenes were inside, and it's annoying. I feel like that just went to waste. It was still cool, but I'm like, man, if that was Django, oof, it would have kicked it up just another level in for a theater experience.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's Django for me though. Who went next, Aiden?
Do you guys want to finish off, or do you want to do one more and then save the other half for next time? Or are we just powering through?
I can rapid fire my last two, and we're done with pretty much half this list.
Well, no, I was gonna say Aiden, do one more, and then we save the exact other half for next time. Do a two-parter. We don't have to. It's 10 o'clock. I don't know. Usually we're rushing to get off by now. All right.
So we used to rush off at 10 o'clock because I lived in a house where I had to be quiet after 10 o'clock.
That's fair. All right, Aiden, give us another one.
All right, Arrival. Some of you might notice.
I need to see this too.
Yeah, I haven't watched one, but I want to.
Me too.
Oh man, Arrival is great. I feel like I don't want to say too much because it's very easy to spoil this. It's very easy to spoil this movie. There are a lot of very interesting concepts in this movie that I've never actually thought about personally, and it's a very intriguing movie. So, are you aware of the general idea of what it is?
Isn't it like Alien Rosetta Stone?
Yeah, basically. So some aliens show up and the movie is about trying to figure out how to communicate with them. And one scene that really particularly stands out to me, which I super enjoyed, it's pretty early in the movie. They're discussing what to do about it, and of course there's let's just nuke them all. Let's fuck it, kill all the aliens, whatever. But then it's hey, you want me to make progress here, you got to give me some time, because it's hey, here, let me pose this very basic question to you. Now, we have to break down this sentence and figure out do they know what a fucking question is? Do they know where here is? Do they know the fundamentals of language and things that we take for granted every day? It was a fun thing to think about. I don't want to spoil the scene because it's pretty powerful scene.
Yeah,
for me, anyways.
I like this movie a lot better than District 9 when it comes to handling an alien species when it arrives on a planet non-hostile. That is the premise of the movie. They're trying to figure out what the deal is with these aliens. And that's not so much of a spoiler because they kind of I
mean, that's literally the premise of the movie. It's just hey, there's aliens here. What do we do about this?
Yeah, and I like that. I liked it a lot. I wasn't a fan of how it really ended, but as far as opening up a conversation about that kind of topic, I think it's great because I think everybody has had that conversation in their basement with their friends. Yo, what do you think what would you do if aliens just showed up? Would you just let would you have them let them probe you, or would you try to blow them up, or would you try to just talk to them, man? And, I don't know. I've had conversations like this before, but I think it's interesting, right? And
there's I can't talk about the main thing in the movie though without spoiling it, because it's so important. It's so fundamental to that. Oh, that's the other thing. The cinematography and the way that they present scenes to you is extremely interesting. And it's I can't really say more about it than that without
saying anything else. It's
yeah,
fun,
like
because
it's like it's too, because the way that they present scenes to you is like integral to the entire plot of the movie. And I know that kind of sounds on the surface like really stupid, because obviously that's how all movies are. Like, they're all integral to the plot of the movie.
nah,
But
not
there's something
necessarily.
something
Sometimes.
very special about the way that information is presented to you in the movie. That is ultimately revealed, and I found it very evocative. But yeah,
Neat.
I digress.
God, you just made me want to watch this movie really badly.
Yeah,
It's
one of those ones that I'm always like, man, I should get around to watching Arrival, and then it slips and just I can't get around to it.
It's also one of those movies where the conversation is always either like, oh, that movie was great, it was really cool, or like, yeah, I thought that whole thing was stupid.
Damn. Well, I don't think I'll be that way. I just need to get around to watching the stupid thing.
Yeah, I thought it was a very interesting premise, and like, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and nice. I would thoroughly recommend for anybody who is in any way interested in aliens or space to watch it.
Speaking of a movie with none of those things, another one for me is Mad Max Fury Road.
Oh, there's no space in that movie.
There's zero space, all Australia.
I remember my dad showing me the original Mad Max movies as a kid, and he actually, I forget if it was before or after this movie, but he actually has Max's car. Tyler and Freeman, you guys might have seen it at my house. It usually sits under the TV on my dad's entertainment center.
Oh, it is, isn't it?
I
didn't actually think about it, honestly.
No, I know, that's fine, but it's like he got me into Mad Max 1 and 2. Beyond Thunderdome, I don't even think I've ever seen, but yeah,
Never
1 and 2.
Beyond Thunderdome?
I don't need to get Beyond Thunderdome.
It's just okay though.
Yeah, I know, that's the problem. But the first two Mad Maxes were really awesome movies, and I remember when this was coming out, it's like, man, are they trying to resurrect this? And then this came out, and it is so... Tyler's got plenty of good action on his list, but nothing has ever done cars like this movie. Like, there is just so nothing out there. This is like watching a space battle, except it's cars. Like...
Excuse me, Fast and the Furious, dude?
Yeah, you heard what I said.
That's a recent development.
You heard what I... No. This does cars better, because Fast and the Furious is like that Michael Bay style of zoom in really hard and fast and show hype action all the time. This movie is so incredible at pulling back and giving things space so you can tell what's happening. And just like the way the music works and the way they world build, and like, again, I keep talking about shots in every one of these movies that I've seen. The shot where they're driving towards the dust storm.
Yeah, that's
my god!
Yeah.
It's like
the
insane.
tension as you build up to that sandstorm.
When that car and they drive in, and then a car gets like just pulled off the ground by like a sand twister in the storm. Or when Max is near the end, when he's on top of the tanker, and one of the guys is driving his car, and he just points at it and goes, "That's mine!"
Yep.
There's so many masterful scenes in this movie. That music car, the music truck,
the fucking speaker, and the fucking flamethrower guitar, yeah. I would say that Fury Road was was Mad Max 2 just cranked up another notch.
It was a modern Mad Max 2, yeah. Literally the only complaint I have about Mad Max 2 is the car blows up.
Really? Is that your complaint?
Yeah, because the car was one of the sickest things ever. Like it's one
But
of
that's
those
the
things.
gripe, though.
Oh yeah. No, it's
God
not a
damn
real
it.
gripe. I know. Like I said, my dad has the model of the original car, and while it in my mind, it's almost like the DeLorean from Back to the Future in terms of cars that you know when you look at them, because like the DeLorean has all the wiring, and obviously it's a DeLorean, so it looks crazy. And the Mr. Fusion. And you look at a car and you just like you see a little Mr. Fusion in a silhouette, and you go, "Oh, that's the DeLorean." The same thing for the Mad Max car, because those tanks in the back, because gas doesn't exist. Gas is like the most precious thing outside of food and water. So the fact that he ripped out the entire back of the car and shoved 2 giant tanks for gas back there, like no other
Have you
vehicle
ever
looks
thought
like that.
about getting a Ford Falcon?
No.
Should. Why not?
Because I like newer cars to drive. I like looking at older cars.
Yeah, but you put that fucking V8 in there, bro. You're gone.
I will say also the supercharger was one of the coolest things. They don't really touch on it in this movie, but back in the second Mad Max movie, with the little thing on the hood, the cutout on the hood.
Yeah,
So fucking amazing.
Dude, just get one, man. Just get it.
There's just so much to talk. Like Tom Hardy, honestly, it's kind of impressive. Again, us doing this and me listening to CinemaSins because they're doing a bigger version of this. Tom Hardy had a killer decade. He did Interstellar. He did this. He played Bane in the Batman. Whether or not you like the last movie, he did a great job. He's done so much. What? Yeah, that's what I said. Did I not say Inception?
Oh, I thought you said Interstellar. I was like,
oh, you're probably right. I meant to say Inception. He killed it, and he crushes it at Max as Max. Like, just this quiet guy who's really hard to, really untrusting, but he's always ready to go. Remember, he almost breaks out at the very beginning of the movie. He gets captured, and then he almost breaks out, and then that cliff shows up. It's such a good world building. Like, we know Max's world is just desert and horrible, but like the whole water thing, like Immortan Joe's weird plateau, like citadel thing. And like, oh man, it's a movie that's a master of being quiet when it needs to, so that the action punches harder. And so few movies get that right. And Tyler's going to talk about at least one more. Sicario is also good at that, but man, Mad Max is just so fucking good. Fury Road is fantastic. It's probably the best in the series, arguably. You could probably make a case for that. Freeman, why don't you tone it down a little from all this action?
All right, yeah, I'll be real fast because this is just some weeby shit here. So I'm putting the movie The Disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya, which is an anime film, in my top films. This one's mostly just for me. It was the first time I watched a movie based on a book that I read where the movie actually ended up being way better than the book. This is also just a case of Kyoto Animation just absolutely flexing on the industry. This movie was phenomenally beautiful. Yeah, this is Kyoto Animation. Their claim to fame was the Melancholy of Haruhi series. It started back in 2006, continued in 2009, and then the movie came out 2010. That was the last bit we got of that series before they started only doing things where they own the complete license. But this movie was something else. I've watched it both subbed and dubbed to get like the full experience, just because I've seen the show in both those. And whichever way you prefer to watch this, if you've ever heard of the series, this finale makes watching some of the weirder parts of the show all worth it. But again, it kind of leads into some of the more beautiful Kyoto Animation stuff. Like, I have no doubt that the Violet Evergarden movie coming out later this year is probably going to top this for
coming out later this year. It's coming out in a week.
Like I said, later. Well, no, that's not the movie. This is OVA.
Oh, the OVA, whatever.
Yeah,
I keep forgetting because it's the only thing in theaters.
Yeah, but when the movie hits, we'll know.
That movie drop.
Hell yeah!
So can't wait. Oh my god.
Yeah, but I kept that one nice and short. We can go on to someone else's to save some time.
Sorry. Tyler, finish us off. One more action.
John Wick!
Yeah. What else was it going to be?
Big surprise here.
It was actually also going to be someone in the same vein. Another action title, Raid Redemption. It's an Indonesian flick.
CinemaSins guys talk about this shit all the time. They're like, Raid is the closest to John Wick before John Wick.
Yeah, and it actually it inspired a lot of the action scenes in The Winter Soldier.
Don't also the guys from the Raid 2 show up in
They show up
John
in
Wick
Star
3?
Wars and John Wick 3, yes.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking of. But yeah.
Yeah, two guys show up in Star Wars.
Tell you should talk about John Wick though.
I know. All right.
Sorry.
No, you're right. Yeah, it was gonna be that, but I think John Wick, like, man, John Wick nailed it, and I think, like, for me, it was just like an out of nowhere thing. Like, I saw it, and I'm like, oh, let's see it just cause, and then I'm like, whoa, and like as a firearm enthusiast like I am, it kind of just it hit all like the right notes, and then like seeing kind of the stuff like you know behind the scenes is really cool to see, and like it just like this is another one of those movies where I just kind of go back to for cinematography, like the stunts and the gunplay. It's just really cool stuff. Not that grounded. It's still like I think like it's as grounded as you can get with like a splash of like some kind of fantasy in it. Like not high fantasy, of course, but like you got all this weird shit going on that probably wouldn't happen, but like it's still super cool. And it's a movie. The 1 and 2 are ones that I will probably keep watching, especially John Wick 2 and the Catacombs. I think I hold my breath literally every single time I watch that scene. Every time. Like, I can't breathe.
Damn.
Just because it's like, it goes and then it just doesn't stop.
Yeah.
Until it stops. And like, next thing you know, it's like, oh, it's only been 5 minutes. It feels like it's been 3 hours. But yeah, John Wick is fantastic.
Aiden? Going back to space?
Yeah, we're going back to space.
Going back to space?
The last one on my list is The Martian, which
Woo!
is also an exceptionally good book that everybody should read as well.
I have heard that as well.
But yeah, I really like this movie because it is a relatively scientifically grounded film about a man surviving on Mars by himself. And I like that. It was good. Yeah. And I think everybody else thought it was good as well.
I'll wave at you guys as you go by.
As a side note, though, I heard New Paul, he listened to it on audiobook. I don't know if he told you, but he's like, yo, it's pretty cool when you listen on audiobook because I guess there are sections of the book where like he has like audio journals. It's supposed to be like an audio journal that he takes down.
Oh, they do like an effect?
Yeah. Yeah,
oh, that's
so
cool.
like they do like a little effect thing like when he's recording.
That's cool.
So I'm like, oh, that's pretty neat.
I have also listened to the audiobook. The audiobook is very good.
This movie was just awesome. Like you said, Aiden, this is one of the most grounded sci-fi movies out there, it feels like.
Yeah, I thought it was better Gravity, in my opinion.
Yeah, Gravity infuriates me.
Wow, really?
We go back to space again.
There is one specific scene, and I'll make this very quick. There's one specific scene in Gravity that fucking pisses me off, and it's when George Clooney is at the end of the tether.
Yo,
and he's like, you have to let go or whatever, or I have to like cut myself loose or some shit. And I'm like, that's not how space works. All she had to do was tug the tether and he would slowly float over. And that was just like, it was so stupid.
They could have done it a lot better because I'm not going to spoil anything, but they
self-sacrifice.
Yeah, they did it for like that reason, just to add
just
more
to get that moment.
That's fine, but like you needed to present it better. Like there was literally no momentum on him, and then he slowly drifts away into space without any other force acting upon him, and it's like that's not how physics works. I hate that scene, and it makes me hate the movie.
And self-sacrifice scene, something brings all the boys to the yard.
I would have liked it better if there was like if they just introducing something as simple as centrifugal force into that scene would have made it just fine.
What did you just call it?
Centrifugal, isn't it centrifugal?
Centrifugal, yeah.
It's the same shit.
You
Yeah,
knew
but
what
it
word he
sounds
was
really
referring
funny when you call it centrifugal.
Centrifugal.
Sounds like
Force.
Centribugal.
Oh, wait. Hold on. Did I get the wrong part of this? Yeah, no. I was right. Centrifugal force.
As opposed to
it's
centripetal.
Not...
Yes,
No,
you're making a distinction so that there's no confusion.
Centripetal and centrifugal are not the same forces.
We're not
Those
saying it is. You were saying your pronunciation.
We're
not saying what you're saying
fine.
is
so
wrong.
Centrifugal force is typically produced by a centrifuge, which it's fine. Continue. You can use either pronunciation.
Just forget it. It's not a big deal.
Now
It's
I'm
retarded,
confused.
Actually,
no, because they're literally two. I digress. It's fine.
We were not
it's
saying.
No, there are
Never
two
mind.
different words. They're just critiquing your pronunciation of the correct word.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, we weren't saying a different word.
No, I'm just. It's. You're right. It's getting late.
Never mind.
it's late.
But yeah,
It is late.
The Martian was a good movie, and I like Mars.
So does Elon.
If you ever read books again,
Aiden,
Aiden,
go to Mars.
Aiden, if you ever want to read books, I'm rereading the Red Rising series, which is basically all about people from Mars, and
I like it.
it's really good.
It
I try to get Tyler to read this series too.
I'm busy.
Nobody should
Aren't we
read
all?
the next one after The Martian, though. Nobody should read Artemis.
Why?
It's
bad.
dumb.
Okay. Well,
It's dumb.
Is it the same characters? I don't know.
No, it's about a moon colony.
Oh, okay. Far less
and
interesting.
things that transpire on said moon colony.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I, of course, as was mentioned at the start of this, had 3 left that I'm struggling to pick between even now in my head. But I've talked before on here about loving animation movies. Just some of them have been fantastic. Wreck-It Ralph 1, Lego Movie 1, and Into the Spider-Verse have all been absolutely incredible stunners this past 10 years. God, even now I'm like not sure which one I should pick, but I think what I'm gonna go with is Into the Spider-Verse. I hope that's not recency bias. It might be, but all 3 of these movies look gorgeous, but there is nothing that looks like Into the Spider-Verse looks. And just, it's one of those movies where it's such an obvious labor of love. The animation, the music, the style, the writing, everything just clearly came together. It's such a clear vision that someone had, and it's few things pull it off this well. And I this is the kind of movie, there aren't a lot of movies that I'll just rewatch anytime. And this is one of those movies that all 5 of these movies I've named are, but like I would easily just throw into my Blu-ray of Into the Spider-Verse and just watch it every day for any time. It's just so fun and such like the jokes are funny, and yet when it needs to get serious, it really does. Like the subtle imagery a lot of the time. The way the music and animation blend together to create the action, it's so well done, and the way it embraces being a comic book movie. I think one of the best things this movie does is make Kingpin so ridiculously huge. That's one thing that's always stuck with me, is how it is so comic book, and it really feels like a comic book that they brought to life. Whereas Avengers is like, hey, there's a comic book thing happening, but this is like, look at this comic book that someone made into a movie.
Actually animated, yeah.
It has such a good style. I could stare at this movie for hours. It's so gorgeous. But
I'm in the complete opposite camp at this point. After having sat down and watched the first 40 minutes of it at my gym while I was waiting for them to cancel my membership, I watched 40 minutes of it, and I understand it's very stylized, but for me it was almost over stylized. It was off-putting.
I can understand that.
No, it was like they wanted to be a comic movie, so everything's very intentionally choppy, and I understand why they don't have that style, but like it annoys me when I watch it. Like I get what they're going for. I still don't like it.
I understand. I mean, we've talked on here before about how they've like in interviews they talk about how they have different frame rates for different parts to make things intentionally seem smoother as the movie progresses and the character gets better.
No, but
And I
there's
can
enough
understand
behind the
that
scenes
being
footage
jarring.
to show how much like work they spent to do it. So I respect what they did, but
I don't know. I can totally understand why it's not for everybody, but this movie just clicked for me on so many levels. And Wreck-It Ralph and Lego Movie are both really good, the first ones, but this movie this movie speaks to me in a lot of ways, and I just love it. Freeman, though, you get to take us out.
cool, and it's going to be the most low-key one. So everyone has heard us talk about Makoto Shinkai nonstop. I had seen his previous works before the 2010 era started, but his first big movie of the 2010 era is before Your Name, before Wuthering Hue. There was a short film called The Garden of Words, and this movie was beautiful. It's like the way they do landscape shots looks almost photorealistic to the point where when I turned it on, I thought they started off in live action and would turn to animation until I realized the whole thing was just animated the entire time.
Damn.
It's a very short movie. It's a very like quick little coming of age romance. I think the movie's only 45 minutes long, so it's really easy to watch. It's on Netflix. But this was like my first taste into Makoto Shinkai trying to tell a story that isn't straight up like, let me just give the saddest fucking ending in the universe. Let me tell a complete story and also sprinkle in some beautiful animation. And that's really been what he's been doing ever since then. And Garden of Words is where it started. So I could have put Your Name in here, even though I didn't really like the end of Your Name. I think Garden of Words like a complete package. I still haven't seen Wuthering Hue, but yeah, Garden of Words very good. Everyone should give it a shot.
It is now on my list on YouTube.
All right.
As well as the silent
on
voice.
YouTube?
Sorry, not YouTube, Netflix. I just went on Netflix and added it to my list.
Okay, great. It's also it's a safe for work anime, so feel free to watch it with your family.
I will say,
will I cry though?
Probably not.
I will say, silent voice you mentioned was also fantastic.
Because I'll tell you what, silent voice, not safe for work.
Why? Because you'll start crying at work?
Because you'll start crying in front of everyone.
Oh, I thought you were implying it was some
crazy.
I thought you were going like, oh, it's interspecies reviewers.
No, not NSFW like that.
No, it's like Final Fantasy 15 ending, not safe for work.
Yes, yes, indeed.
Gotcha.
Speaking of Netflix, real quick, can I just say how amazing it is that they finally added the option to turn off autoplay?
Oh hell yeah! I'm willing to bet someone found that with some of their shows, it was just causing people to move too fast to get off of autoplay, and they weren't actually considering.
Well, no, it's like the ads. I'm not talking about like at the end auto-playing the next thing. It's like
no, I'm talking like when you're on the menu, it'll start playing audio from the show you currently have covered.
I thought you were talking about like an end episode.
No. I'm talking about how people would like Netflix. They always try to put the one thing they want to promote right at the top, and people would just start moving because they knew they didn't want ads start playing. And someone finally clicked like, "Hey, maybe this means that no one's actually looking at what we want to show them."
So yeah, hey everybody, if you go into your settings on Netflix and go to playback settings, you can turn that shit off now. It's great, and it's
thank Christ.
And even better, they actually, amazingly enough, made it account wide, so you don't have to do it on every single device.
Interesting.
I know would have pissed me off to no fucking end. But yeah, so there are some of our top movies of the decade. We had a lot of fucking good ones, and there's obviously crap tons more that are great, but you know, a good smattering. Let's try to close it pretty quick. Friedman, we'll swap the orders around. What happened the past 2 weeks? What's coming up?
So I alluded real quick. We were talking about something about PCs. I forget where it came up, but point is my brother
hard drives.
Yeah, so my brother's company lets them build a computer if they need it for work. So he justified, I totally need a 2080 Super for work. so he was able to budget out a computer, and he's never built a computer before. He's always done pre-builts, and he knows that I know how to build one. So he's like, hey, would you be able to show me? So I'm going to walk him through the world of building a computer, I think next weekend, but we're just waiting for parts to come in at this point. And I always love building computers. It's super expensive, so it's not the most frequent hobby I can have, but anytime it's computer building season.
Every 3 years, it's a good hobby.
Well, look, so I built 2 myself. I built 3 for friends, and I built my dad. So this will be number 7 I'm going to build.
Wow, nice.
But with this one, I'm explicitly, I'm not the one putting it together. I'm just going to tell my brother what to do, and he's the one who's going to put it together.
Nice.
But it's always fun to build a new computer, especially in a new case I've never worked with before.
Totes.
But outside of that, I'm doing literally the same shit I keep saying I'm doing every week. I'm playing Monster Hunter, I'm playing Pokemon, I'm watching anime, because that's all I ever do.
Nice.
All right, someone else go.
Oh yeah.
Didn't you say you played Witcher a little too?
No, I played the Witcher quest in Monster Hunter
Oh,
World.
right. That's what it was.
which is making me want to play Witcher. But the thing is, I haven't
yeah.
had exposure to video game Geralt's voice, and I'm not gonna lie, he reminds me a lot of Solid Snake.
Yes.
So I was making some jokes with my coworker today, just where we were just saying Metal Gear lines. We were saying it with Geralt's like cadence.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned earlier, I actually went home for an extended, basically an early Valentine's trip this past weekend. Val got me to start trying to watch RE0 again, so I'll probably sit down and actually watch through that.
It's a good show.
I know. I don't know. I'm still.
I convinced another friend to also watch ReZero, and he made it up to the same episode Val's on.
I decided since Doom Eternal is coming out soon I was trying to get my dad to actually finally play 2016, so I decided to reinstall Doom 3 BFG Edition and Doom 2016. Currently a little over halfway through Doom 3, and probably if we do our podcast next week, I'll probably completely finish BFG Edition and be back into 2016. But Doom 3 is definitely the worst Doom game, but it's still fun as hell to just do kind of a horror-themed shooter, kind of like Dead Space. Not much else going on. Trying to think. And upcoming. Oh, I'm probably going to do a Commander tournament at my store again this upcoming Saturday. A two-headed giant unified team tournament.
Nice. Which deck are you bringing?
I'm not sure. I'm going to basically just bring them all, and then me and my buddies will decide in the car which deck
works well together.
What gets to run Sol Ring, and what deck do I have that doesn't run Sol Ring that I can play. But yeah, that should be a good time. And then just still job hunting and trying to move back to New Jersey. Yeah, not much else going on. Aiden.
Same old video games.
Have you beaten any in the last 2 weeks?
I just beat Dragon Ball Z Kakarot.
Oh, nice.
Speaking of Aiden going, sorry, we've still continued Dark Souls co-op.
Yes, Dark Souls
co-op.
Although
Aiden has done a bad job.
There's a lot of other stuff happening right now.
Yeah,
so
Golden Guns apparently.
So.
I gotta get Golden Guns and Call of Duty. Hey man, I'm working on my 6th.
Wow.
Working on my 6th.
God forbid you get a Dark Souls boss once in a while.
Yeah, I hate that gun. It's the worst gun in the game.
Anyway,
it's so bad. Yeah, I've been dabbling in Monster Hunter World. I unlocked the guiding lands for Iceborne.
Further than me.
Yeah, the guiding lands is a very confusing concept for me.
Is that not just the end game for Iceborne? It is. Isn't
it is, but it's very different from every other map they've introduced.
I understand. I'm just saying. I thought I remember hearing that name for end game.
Yeah, there's. Like it's almost like a whole new end game system.
Nice.
Because there's like zone levels and
just like endless expeditions.
Yeah, expeditions are like that. So really, they instead of like having these end game quests like go hunt like 2 arch-tempered Kieran or whatever for a quest. Like it's just like, okay, here's this area. And the more you do here, the harder the things get. So just go out there and go hunt monsters. Like, go do your thing. Like, there's no quests involved with it.
Who cares?
Really.
Let's go hunt monsters.
Yeah, I mean, they still have those high-level quests, but that's not, like, the focus. You're not sitting there like, oh, fuck, I gotta grind to Hunter rank 49 so I can get my Kieran quest. And then once I do that, I gotta grind to Hunter rank 69 to get this other quest. Like,
nice.
You're just
it's just you're out there hunting.
You're out there doing stuff.
Just trying to get better shit to spawn.
I like it, and I've been having a good time with it. And Monster Hunter is still a very good game that I'm enjoying. And yeah, Dark Souls 3 is a thing. Code Vein I picked up, and it's anime Dark Souls. I mean, everybody knew that.
Is it worth playing though?
If you don't have a lot of other stuff going on, I would say yeah. Right now for me, it's like a 7 out of 10. It's like it's above average. Like it's a competent Souls game. It's competent and it has like a lot of really cool shit going for it. I have the same problem with it though that I did for Star Wars Fallen Order, and that it's just not tight enough.
Fair. Without Star Wars, I don't know how much I would have played of it.
Yeah. Tim talking about Doom made me reinstall Doom, so I started playing through that again as well.
Hell yeah.
So I probably spent like 2 hours
Did you recover
last
your
night.
save, or no? Is it actually gone?
I didn't recover my save, which is unfortunate. But I mean, like Doom is
Who
such
cares?
a good
Yeah.
game, I didn't really care. So I'm like halfway through Foundry right
I mean,
now.
I'm gonna start a new game anyway when I do it, so yeah. Understandable.
Yeah. And plans for the future: going to PAX still for now. We'll see what happens with coronavirus, because I, don't want to go to conventions with a bunch of sick people. Not that specifically coronavirus would be the issue, just the PAX plague.
The con funk.
It's extra. It's extra worry for the general con illness.
Yeah. And other than that, I'm thinking about starting to play some more horror games because I need more horror games in my life, and Tyler really wants me to play horror games.
Yeah, he gets spooked. He gets spooked real good. Real good. I love it.
Yep. So I'm looking forward to my week and a half off in Boston.
Nice. And Tyler.
Yo, I ain't doing much because my life's boring. Wait, what am I doing? Shit. What did I watch? Oh, I watched some anime because my internet went down. I started Stage 4 of Initial D. I started
Yes.
Space Dandy, which are both pretty fun so far, especially Space Dandy. I haven't been playing a lot of video games. I've been kind of dedicating a lot to like writing out for Dungeons and Dragons. I did a session last week with Aiden and a couple of our other buddies.
That was great.
Yeah, yo, someone died. It was pretty
Someone
crazy.
did die, and I'm like, I mean, hey man, he had it coming. Also, it was willed by the gods, Tyler.
It was willed by the gods, higher than I. Higher than I wanted him dead. And the thing is, when it happened, I was like, I can't, because something like this has happened before, and I couldn't ignore it last time, so I can't ignore it now. And the last time that happened is when Luigi got resurrected. Actually, literally the same thing. I'm like, yo, if this motherfucker rolls a 20, all right, fine. Okay. And then D&D with you guys plus Luigi on Thursdays.
So missed last week because of internet.
Missed last week because of internet.
But I prayed until I got shot.
Pretty much.
I also fucking, oh my god, yeah, the punch. I forgot to mention the punch.
Oh yeah.
I fucking holy punched what was it again?
Oh, the Wendigo.
I fucking paladin holy smiting punched a Wendigo in the face, and it was one of the greatest moments ever.
Yeah.
It was like a fucking United States of Smash.
Yeah, and then you guys got some important news in World coming Thursday, so
FBI open up.
Yeah. FBI open up.
I'm waiting for it.
Pop. So yeah, I've been doing that. I've been writing and then playing like some Call of Duty. I honestly haven't been playing that many games lately. I just think about it now and I'm like, shit. I should find something serious to play again.
We've been watching ReZero.
We've been watching ReZero.
What episode are you up to?
We finished the mansion arc.
Yeah.
Okay.
I told you.
I'm waiting for you guys to get to my favorite episode.
I'm sure it's probably the same episode as fucking our friend Kyle who's showing us.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
Because he's been complaining like, yo, we got to get to this fucking episode. And I'm like, all right.
Yeah, you'll know you're there because the episode has a very unusual credit sequence and a post-credit scene.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I've kind of done a lot in terms of just things. Job hunting, I watched the theatrical versions of Evangelion,
Wait, all 3 of them?
all 3 of them.
Damn. All right, we gotta talk about this later.
I figure.
Let's-
What?
Nothing. Keep going.
I finished the Witcher books.
Finally finished Lady of the Lake.
Yeah, it only took me about 3 years because I kept stopping.
Of you
and, like,
constantly
reading this
being
shit.
like, God, this book is so slow and boring, and it's like,
Dude,
yes, Tyler,
that was
we agree.
all of them. That was all of them.
Yeah, but this one's extra bad
I
with the
I
war and
literally
everything.
kept stopping. No, the first half was like, oh my god, get to something. Like, so when they're in, so in the first part is like, okay, this is kind of cool, but this has nothing to do with the main story.
Yep.
So I'm kind of pissed.
Yep.
And then the second, was it like, I don't know, the middle part of the book, I'm like, well, this is boring. This is actually boring as fuck. And then like the last bit of like third of the book, I'm like, all right, this is pretty dope. This is about the coolest thing that's probably happened in this entire fucking series. Like, mind you, like there's been a couple of cool things that's happened in the story, but overall, like I feel like I fucked myself up because like I went into this series with a completely different expectation than I thought I was going to get, and I didn't get that, and so it kind of like hampered my experience a lot. But you know what? It's fine. I think overall it's still pretty good. Um, yeah. So now I'm going back to finishing the Dark Tower. And man, I'll tell you what, this fucking fifth book or no, sixth book compared to the last one I read, infinitely better.
Really?
Infinitely better. Like now, like this, like they're starting to hit me with the revelations, and like there's some action in here, and I'm like, all right. And it's a short book. This one's short. Like the last 2 before it were like fucking. Oh no, I think the last one was like 700 pages, and like 300 of those pages were fucking useless.
Nice. Excellent.
Yeah, that's fucking Stephen King for you,
Yep.
Whatever. But yeah, Freeman, if you start reading that, I don't know if you've seen any other like Stephen King movies or whatever, but like you'll start seeing some of those references
Gotcha.
in the series, yeah, and it's kind of cool. But all right, yeah, it looks like I did a lot more things than I thought I did as usual, I guess. But that's about it.
And we will end the podcast there because it's getting pretty late. It's almost 11 now. Oof.
Woo!
But hey, we got a lot done. So thanks everybody for listening, and we'll be back next time with Oops All D&D Stories, because next time is episode 100.
Oh shit, I forgot.
We made it.
So we'll be back with more tales of Dungeons and Dragons. I might have to go back and listen to find out what stories we've already covered.
Yeah, no, I gotta listen too.
But yeah, we'll definitely have some more tales of adventure. But until next time, my name's Timpedia.
I'm Friedman.
Just Tyler.
The Amazing Eights.
And we'll catch you guys next time. Thanks for listening.